the main thing that you're going to be learning how to do in this game is implementing your dash attack, your dash jump attack, and the strike infinite. That's like the core skill set you're going to be using for this game. But and I guess I also kind of wanted to like challenge myself a little bit to do something that has a bit more editing and a bit more clarity of vision, because despite my best efforts, I can't always just be on stimulants and rant for 2.5 hours about a game. So I had this idea where I was like, oh, I want to talk about like Final Fight in comparison to Captain Commando, but then the big picture kind of started to form in my head, and I was thinking about the German Reinheitsgebot, like their beer purity law. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah. No, I don't. I haven't heard of that.
So it was like in the 1600s or something. Germany came up with like this purity law for their beer, but it was out of necessity. Because like they had like a limited amount of product to go around their whole country, right? So they were if you're making beer, it has to only contain wheat, barley, and water, or whatever it was. And then after some period of time, they also added yeast into that because they realized that yeast is actually like a critical component of making beer. And then in like the 1800s or something, and that had been just like a royal decree for however long, and then in like the 1800s they made it an official law because they wanted it to be like a staple of the German economy, and like the champagne is only in the one region of France thing, but they wanted German beer to only contain these four ingredients. And you can use any combination of them. You can do whatever you want with those ingredients, but it can only contain those four. If it has anything more than those ingredients, it is not considered German beer. Like, you can't sell it in the country.
Yeah.
And then with time, they rolled back, so that's not like an official law in Germany anymore.
Right.
But there are tons of like breweries in Germany that abide by that. The Reinheitsgebot, the original like concept of it. And I started thinking about that in comparison to kind of like the modern arcade dev, and like the idea that something initially started out of due to limitations, right? It was as much as you could do with the limitations that you had. And then we're doing this because this is what makes us us. And then when those limitations were completely removed, there are still people who want to abide by those limitations not because like they think it makes them special or anything, but because they know it works and they know what it makes is like pure.
But yeah, it's like a transition from just the technological thing to it being an aesthetic. It's kind of like 4:3 aspect ratios in movies, where we moved to widescreen, but now like a lot of different filmmakers are just adapting it intentionally because it creates a certain look that they want to go for. It becomes less of like a cultural thing, like an imposed cultural limitation or technological limitation, or like a the way to get money, and becomes an aesthetic, artistic kind of subculture standard.
Yeah, and then you start to think about like how, and then you think like adding more to it makes the original limitations worse in some instances.
Yeah.
So that's where this started to like pool together in my head, and that's why I reached out to you, because like I know that you have a lot of you've reflected on the nature of like beat 'em ups in general, and like you've written a ton about them. You have the terminology, you know what the minutia is and what it can do. And so I was thinking about like how even like the phrase like a Final Fight clone, how you can say Final Fight clone, but unless you literally coded every single line of code exactly the same as Final Fight, used every single same sprite and everything. Like, there's no way you could ever clone it. Let's plow our way through the first stage. It's not really trying to teach us anything too crazy. Yeah, so you also get the dash attack, which like has you sliding for a little bit and leaves you in a big recovery. These are really good because you can like angle them upwards with the dash up or the dash down, and you can like use them as very active, long-lasting hitboxes. They're super powerful, and you'll end up using them quite a bit mixed in with your jab infinites and your like jumping attack, which your jumping attack is a little bit less, you use it a little bit less, but jab infinites and throws for sure will get you super far. And then anything that needs to be like culled into the herd, you're going to end up using the dash attack to move it around. It's also really good for bosses. Here's one of the first things that's different is we have these rideable mechs in this game. They're not super useful. I try to avoid them actually, but you can jump into them and they've got cool little attacks. Not the best thing, but I like, you know, they're fun in their own right. There we go, and you can press. Oh, of course, and I forgot to mention, this game also has the classic like Final Fight Superjoy. The reason that I picked Mac in this instance was he's got a really fun and unique Superjoy that you can actually move around during. And just like Final Fight, you need to actually land on an enemy for it to take away your health. You'll notice it's not taking any health away, but if I do it here, it does end up taking health away. It's a static amount of health in this game, not depending. It doesn't depend on the amount of characters or enemies that you hit, which is nice compared to Final Fight. But it does take more health overall, so you get fewer amounts of Superjoys per like life. And the stages are quite short in this game, so you end up they give you less like healing overall, but they make the like stages themselves are pretty much like guaranteed turkeys because they're so short and there's quite a few more of them. But it ends up being like a 30-minute game, which is one of the reasons I love it so much. Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, the characters are super different as far as I understand.
Yes. Yeah.
But in Captain Commando, it almost feels like they made 4 core striker characters that are only defined by their dash attack and the range of their hit string. Like, that's the chief difference between all of the characters.
Although I will briefly say that they are pretty different in Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, but they do have the flattening problem, which, you know, it's happened to me also in Violent Storm and every game I've played that has a big powerful dash, which is, yeah, they're all different, but like I played the slow grappler guy, and he's still flying around at 1,000,000 miles an hour, you know, dash attacking people down or whatever. Like, it's, again, same with Violent Storm. So the fact that everyone has such powerful movement and such a strong get away from everything tool really does homogenize the cast to a degree in Cadillacs.
Okay.
But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me that if they're even more similar in Captain Commando.
I think, and maybe it's just like it might be me in my own like bias, because it would be purely visual for me, right? Like, I've messed around in Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, and I credit fed it a couple times, but it every time I played a different character, it felt like a massively different experience within the game. But it's probably because I wasn't playing it to like optimization, right? Like, I was just messing around in it, so I was able to feel that like little bit of differentiation. But that makes a lot of sense to me, where like you could never say that Cody and Hagar play the same, like in almost any capacity.
Right. Yeah, like, it wouldn't surprise me if a player has done well at Cadillacs and Dinosaurs by taking the grappler character and kind of playing him the way that you play Mustafa, the run around and dropkick character, whereas you can't really pick up Hagar and go like, you know what, I'm gonna do this run Cody style. Just like see success in it. It's just
you'll notice that I'm really just taking advantage, and obviously this is early in the game, but I'm really just taking advantage of the dash right now. So let's do our first save state. This is the first boss. He's quite straightforward. He can block your strings. So you'll notice he just blocks and backs up. But he is not impervious to throws. So you can throw him around. Occasionally he'll get hit by jabs and stuff. And then as you deal more and more damage to him, he'll summon mobs like they do in any beat 'em up. But these ones drop weapons for the most part, unless it's the purple waves. The weapons in this game, you'll notice there's actually guns, which shoot unblockable attacks and have a limited amount of ammunition. They're more dangerous in an enemy's hand than it is in yours. Except for the rocket launcher. Totally forgot about this one. So there's a rocket launcher that'll hold 3 attacks. The enemies can use it, and so can you. And it's really got a nice hitbox on it. Let's look at that. Bam. And it's really nice, and it lingers for a while. And it'll destroy it. I want to celebrate like beat 'em ups as beat 'em ups in conversation with beat 'em ups, and really not even take the other part into, because I don't want the old man shaking fist at clouds vibe.
Oh, sure.
And
yeah, that makes sense. Like, I like King of Dragons. I played King of Dragons. I think that's pretty good. I had more fun with King of Dragons than Dark Souls, but I didn't spend my King of Dragons one pretty clear commentary talking about how I think it's better than Dark Souls.
Exactly, yeah. How Capcom themselves were like iterating on their own design, because it went Final Fight, King of Dragons, Captain Commando, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so, yeah.
And the first thing that they did as they went from Final Fight into King of Dragons was scale back the mechanics.
Yes.
Which is, I don't know, to me, that's elegance. That's amazing.
That's amazing, yeah. Yeah, it's like they wanted to, reach even more purity, where they just, like, isolate the beat 'em up into its most essential elements.
That's true.
Which is kind of crazy if you think about it. I mean, you as a developer, like, could you imagine making a sequel to a game you made and wanting to make it simpler?
Me specifically, yes.
Okay.
99% of developers no.
Things,
yes, yeah, you're speaking to an exception here. Yeah.
So we found that really, at least I found it super interesting because,
especially because what they took away was the crowd control, which is like the half of the appeal of Final Fight, at least.
But then it started to really emphasize like the spacing game. And picking and choosing, like, a single button press, I think, like a single press of the attack button in King of Dragons can do more damage to your run, like, chance of survival than a single button press can in, like, Final Fight. You know, you whiff that swing, you're locked in place, you get hit by one enemy, that's like a third of your health bar gone, suddenly.
Yeah, like, I think of Hagar as having slow jabs, but that has nothing on whiffing a full-on attack in King of Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that game is... I just think of it as belt-scrolling Castlevania, which is, it's a bit reductive. It's not really an accurate description of the game, but, like, it's...
That's exactly what Boghog said.
Yes, I probably stole it off him.
Because what you get there is basically kind of like a pure... Well, the way I describe it is just like Castlevania with a Z-axis. But it's more than that, because what you get when you look at the genre abstractly, it's more like a kind of like a seesaw, where you move in one direction, the world reacts to you. It's like this like kind of sliding reactive space. It's not like the enemies don't stand there and wait for your attacks. They like really react to all your micro positioning movements and different things you're doing. If you just turn it into pure abstract visuals, it would be like a floating point and a bunch of points like reacting and orbiting it.
And I guess maybe you have more insight on this than I do. And this is just by feel. I was playing some King of Dragons last night just because I knew I was going to want to talk about it. And it feels like the closer your character sprite is to their like point of origin, like your center point to their center point, it feels like the more consistent or your damage is, or like the higher it will be, or the less chance it has to block.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like proximity based.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit like shmups, except instead of bullets, you just have one hitbox that where it scales like damage based on distance.
I thought that was like the coolest thing, because like once I noticed
So
it, I
good.
started trying to do it more, and then like I realized it was because I play the cleric character. I've played the other characters, but I'm not good at the ranged characters as much, and I like the aesthetic of the cleric. But once I noticed that, it kind of like the plastic skill of being able to walk up and throw somebody from Final Fight kind of meshed with the ability to get really close and swing. And I don't know, it's just like this moment of brilliance thing that they were able to do by they made that dynamic by taking away mechanics. I couldn't get, I was too excited about it. So as I sat down and then I started writing down all of the things that I could just list in order that were different from Captain Commando to Final Fight. I tried to think of like things they took away and things they added. And the first thing, the center point to me, and I can't tell what's more important, like what causes more gameplay shifts, if it's the removal of the Capcom grab or the addition of the dash.
Yeah, I think the removal of the Capcom grab, because then that immediately makes the game, well, I wanted to say it makes the game more like less stationary, where you move around as you attack a little bit more. But the problem is that because of the infinite, you're still heavily encouraged to like stand your ground.
Well, the way that I was thinking about it was there's no way to know that if I start a strike string, I can get iframes at the end. Because that's something that is like kind of crucial as I play Hagar, right, in Final Fight. And my goal is if I can't use my movement to get myself iframes, then I have to use my spacing to grab them kind of a couple hits in the future. And so then there's that little like push-pull of, am I going to have enough time to get off strike 1, strike 2, and then do my pile driver finisher or my backdrop finisher before another enemy comes up and interrupts that string.
So in any situation where you don't care about, the actual number of seconds it takes to take out the enemies, may as well just go invincible at the end of every auto combo with your throw, regardless of which way you want to send them. Why not?
So that is like a perfect transition into what I think is like maybe the unintended, but has become kind of the thesis statement of like how these formula changes like really have an insanely drastic input on like the effect on the like feel of the game. There is no Capcom grab in Captain Commando.
Oh, really?
Really.
Okay.
And
that's a huge difference.
Yeah, it is like a completely separate game. I'm holding up right now, and it always just does the finish. Yeah.
Not to the same extent as Final Fight. I do feel like I haven't played Captain Commando as much as Final Fight, but I do feel like you move around there a bit more. You're like more flexible. It's like if you think about Streets of Rage, the amount of Streets of Rage 4 in particular. Have you played that, by the way?
I've actually only played through the story mode one time, and it's cool. It's a good game. I'll have to get back to it.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan, but I mean it's pretty good. It's still pretty solid. It's one of the better new beat 'em up. But the way they balance like the hit stun there is you have so much stun and you recover from your attacks so quickly that you can kind of like move around in between like you do a hit and you move, do a hit and you move. You can do like that in a very flexible way. Whereas in Final Fight, it's a lot more planted.
Mm-hmm.
You do a hit, like they don't have that much stun that you can like run circles around them. And I feel like Captain Commando is kind of in between.
Yeah.
You can do some hits, move, reposition, do some hits, reposition, like go for a grab, it's very flexible in that way. If you don't have the mechanic, like the auto combo throw, you can still do a few hits, like walk in or run in the middle of your auto combo, so it's still flexible in that way.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking of, I guess, so I wanted to poke at, like, what was added from Final Fight to Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, and how that changed the like texture of the game. I don't have all the terminology for it that I could use exactly, which is why I'm offloading it onto developers. But texture being the word that that first comes to my mind when you're playing a different beat 'em up than the last beat 'em up you played. So I know Cadillacs and Dinosaurs added
dynamics and stuff. Yeah.
I know Cadillacs and Dinosaurs added a dash, right? But it's not like the Captain Commando
That's
dash.
the
So
big
could
one.
you describe it, like how it actually works?
Okay. It's hard not to just jump into talking about all the consequences of it, because short version is it's very strong and very fast, and you have big arenas and you can run away around them. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So the dash itself is you double tap to dash. You can dash in any direction. You double tap up or down, dash that way or whatever, and you can steer the dash as it's going. You let go of the stick, you keep on dashing, and you can manually stop a dash, but you have to tap the opposite direction to which you're traveling to stop. Or if you're dashing forward, you can tap down to stop. But point is, you can dash. It's like a run. You run forever, and either you cancel it into a dash attack, which is a big strong attack that each character has. You cancel it into a dash jump, which you can cancel into a dash jumping attack, which is a separate, really strong moving attack that your character has. Or you can just manually cancel it by tapping back and then just jab or whatever you want to do. So do it whenever you want. It's very strong. It's very fast.
Can you initiate a dash in a diagonal, or does it have to be one of the cardinal four?
I believe it's one of the cardinal four, but I have never tried to get 2 frame perfect diagonals in a row to test that. I'm an arcade stick user. I'm not a hitbox double tap a direction.
The leverless enthusiast in me. I just care so much about my wrists. I care about your wrists too. So the way the dash works in Captain Commando is it's
look at that.
It's a double tap a direction. Any direction works. I can do the diagonals if I can hit it right.
Okay. Nice.
And then as soon as you let off the button, your dash stops, right? And you will just dash through people. So to get the dash and grab, you have to dash, stop, and then walk.
Right. Yep, makes sense.
And
same with Punisher, right?
I think so. I honestly, when I was playing the Punisher, I was just playing as Hager. I was just jump drop kicking everybody. But I feel like there's and you can initiate a dash going one direction and then end up turning it around as long as you make a half circle motion. So you can start dashing to the right, do a half circle down and over to the left, and you will continue your dash and start pointing to the left. So if you need to make space, you can very quickly dash to the right. The enemies will kind of conga themselves forward. You'll do that half circle motion and you'll face left, and then you can finish your dash attack. And those kinds of things I felt were so it was so cool to do. I really loved that. But the downside is,
this is surprisingly tricky on a keyboard. Goddamn.
Were you trying it right now?
Yeah, I was giving it a shot real quick.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the you gotta really have clean taps. It's like doing Zangief's SPD in Street Fighter 2,
Mm-hmm.
where you gotta really clean inputs.
You have to hit those diagonals. But it's cool that it works. It feels like it's so organic. Maybe Capcom knew, they made the rules for how the dash worked, but I don't think they sat down and they were like, oh, we should make it so that if you're dashing, you can continue the dash into the other direction that you initiated the dash so that you can quickly make space and then take advantage of the dash attack. No, I think by nature of having this pure system that's well designed, it happened, and then you can use it. Once you notice it, you'll see all the the potential applications of it. But unlike the Punisher, where you can just the recovery time on your dash attack is so low and his movement options are so strong, in Captain Commando you're stuck in that slide for a while and you will get decked if you do it out of position. So there's that little push pull. And as I was playing Captain Commando, I was I was realizing that that opportunity was taken away from me, and in a way, it suddenly made the dash much more important because I couldn't initiate strike strings from air quotes, an unsafe position because the definition of unsafe became different.
Exactly. You just have to use your movement. I think that's also why it just has less recovery frames on the moves, so you can stay mobile more actively. It's like a lot more. It's kind of like more in the King of Dragons direction, where you're like moving and attacking almost. Not quite, but close, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But what would happen? What I remember happening is like if you're comboing a group with the tip of your attack, right?
Mm-hmm.
It would be a bit better about like slipping out of that like tip range.
Yeah.
In
So
various ways.
the only character that this is the one of the complaints I have about Captain Commando is with two of the four characters are genuinely like more viable, because enemies can't slip out of that third and fourth hit because it extends far enough. Like if your first one connected, then your second, third, fourth will connect. They're far enough. But Ginzu.
Oh yeah, so like the third hit has a smaller hitbox. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, yeah, exactly. That's what I felt. Yeah.
So if you're playing as Captain Commando or you're playing as the ninja, they can slip out on those tip range strings, so you need to be up close.
Those are the only two I played actually.
Oh,
so, you know. So those like defined my experience. That's why maybe I should go back and play Baby, because basically I felt that it was like the main thing is like I liked the mechanics, I liked the enemy designs, but it felt a little bit like janky, you know, where like I'm attacking stuff, it's like slipping out. I'm like, what is going on with this game?
Mm-hmm. Another thing, then maybe you'll notice this when you go back too, to I think make up for the fact that you can't do a Capcom grab, your jab or like your standard attack has a tiny bit of a hitbox behind you, as well as when you start doing your throw, it starts like when you swing a weapon in Streets of Rage, where it has that hitbox behind you and then in front of you.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting how different this looks to Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, because what I was expecting was, well, they made Final Fight, and then they made a couple different versions of Final Fight with a dash. One was called Captain Commando, one was called Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. But these look like extremely different games, just, in terms of player toolset, like you've been saying. Like, even if you took Captain Commando and put him in Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, or vice versa, they would play completely different.
It turns up the heat, right? So we're getting two knife guys. The knife guys are not as dangerous in this game as Elgatos are. They just don't have as much aggression and like bullshit hit frames. The characters that are pretty nasty here are going to be the electric ladies. You'll get hit by them quite a bit early on while you're trying to figure it out, because they do this electric attack that spreads along the ground, and it has like a lot of active frames, and it's kind of hard to get around. So they almost like stop you from being able to dash everywhere because they throw that out, and they're pretty good at anti-airing you too. Not always, but the chance that it can happen is pretty dangerous, right? What I like to do to start off stage 2 here, let's get the skips out of the way, and then we're gonna just edge it forward a little bit, take on the carols, the first two carols at least. Bop, 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 bop. We're gonna back up, let her get some space. And then we're going to move forward and fight the big herd. Brenda's pretty nasty. She's a bit smarter, and she can break out of the infinite, unlike the normal, like, Brenda's. If you've seen Final Fight, you'll notice, like, how different the crowd control looks in this game, right? It's kind of what I wanted to do with this video, right? Is highlight the differences and, just show like why that played so differently than Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, why that played so differently than Final Fight. And I really wanted to celebrate it, because you're absolutely right. There are some things in that game that completely flopped, like the diagonal arenas. Lesson learned,
Sure.
Having too few enemies that will attack from off screen. Lesson learned. But I think after playing Captain Commando, I actually went back because I've never played like a striker character until I played Captain Commando. I always played a grappler, and so I played Captain Commando. I had to learn how to play a striker because even Baby Commando is just a fake grappler. You play him like everybody else, and going back to Final Fight, I was like, I should try Cody now. I spent all this time learning Hagar. I just played a bunch of Captain Commando. I go back to Final Fight, and I start playing Cody, and not having the moving chain was just a jarring experience to realize that I am anchored in place when I'm doing my jab string. And it felt like that's where like the word texture came from, where all of a sudden these fights felt like find the right position on screen and hold it, and I felt like Captain Commando, you're making the right position on screen, you're shaping the crowd more so than like reacting to the crowd and then kind of like herding it in. You're like making a conga line of destruction in Captain Commando. So like having that moving chain taken away, I was just like, I gotta talk about this. What they decided to do with this game was give you the moving chain system. So I can add in a forward input and start moving along, which is in the Punisher. Where you'll move along as you go. And the Punisher is even more powerful than it is in Captain Commando. But you can like do small like one, two, three, and then end on a forward finisher. You can start on the forward and then only do like two in space. And what they also did was give every character an incredibly easy infinite. You don't even have to do the punch, right?
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of timing going on here. You're taking a full step left and right.
Mm-hmm. And there's a couple characters that or a couple enemies that can break out of it.
Sure.
But for the most part, if you are on top of the enemies, you can just mob them like that, right?
Okay.
And it makes it so that you're not using, like, when you can't initiate an engagement knowing that you'll end it in iframes, it like changes how you think about crowd control.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because like I'm thinking like I could probably even use Cadillacs and Dinosaurs as an example. If there's like one bad guy that's like a couple steps in front of the rest of the mob behind him, as long as you've got a good like diagonal approach on that first dude, you can walk up, hit, do the forward grab finisher, and you will immediately crowd control that entire group behind them.
Yes, exactly.
But what you do in Captain Commando instead is you get a little bit closer and you use the moving chain to get yourself mobbed inside the group, like in like mosh pit style. And then and then once you're positioned inside, you can just wreck them, right? Like, because your infinite is so strong. So you put yourself into the thick of it intentionally, and it just changes the whole shape of like encounters. Like, I can get all these guys coming. Grab this.
Yeah, this looks very different to Final Fight. Out of curiosity, the one beat 'em up I put real time into that doesn't have the Capcom throw is Violent Storm, but that has like enough hits done on jabs that you can go like jab, walk up throw for like a manual Capcom throw type thing. You know, you can't do it if you're right at the edge of the screen like you were there, because you can't walk up and grab them when they're off the edge of the screen. But as long as you're center stage, you can just grab, walk up throw. Is that something that's viable to do all the time, or are there a lot of enemies that will fight back if you do that?
I can think of about
it seems like that's not something you rely on.
No, not really. There are about 3 enemies that I can think of that would counter it inherently.
Okay.
But it would work. But there's a tricky thing about the throw in this game, right? Which is another great discussion point. I appreciate you having questions.
It's even built into the auto combo, right? Because you move forward a little bit.
So they have. This is another thing I wanted to talk about. This is like this is the purity law, right? The tiniest little thing that you add in changes so many things about it, because you can decide whether or not you're moving forward in the auto combo in Captain Commando.
Yeah,
So
I think it's like if you hold forward, right?
Yep, and it's move to move. So you can do first hit of the string, stationary, second hit, forward, third hit, stationary, fourth hit, finisher, forward. So you can stagger, you can pick forward, 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 forward. You can pick stationary, 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 finish forward. And it's very hard to go back to Final Fight and just do the infinite with Cody after you've been given that, because that feels super engaging. To me, at least, that's something that I started to love about Captain Commando, was like dash, 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 punch, throw, and then once I've gotten everybody herded in such a way, I can actually use my strike string to shimmy myself and the whole group to one side of the screen. It was just super satisfying to pull off, because like you'll see it just grabs everybody. Now they're all thrown into a big pile. Look at this conga line.
Right.
And now we can play into the
Yep.
like the totally different style and feel of crowd control in this game. And it's, I mean, I think it feels amazing. Like once I really started to get into Captain Commando, I really started to enjoy how the like jab-based crowd control conga line feel was, because you don't actually have a big like damage spike. Sweet, right. Hey, please play it. It's really good. But you don't have a good like damage spike move. Like if you look how much damage I did to that guy's health bar with my finisher, right?
Oh,
it's like nothing.
Yeah, what's the damage? Hold on.
And so, yeah, we'll load this back up. What you end up doing is you have to, 1, 2, 3, you're like encouraged to keep them in the infinite for efficient damage.
Right.
Because it's the fastest way to go about it. Now, there is the dash jump attack that characters have, but even that doesn't do a ton of damage, despite how cool it is. And every character has a bit of a different actually they all have vastly different dash jump attacks. That's like the chief difference between all of them. And the Captain has like a really awesome disjoint on his. I love actually using his, but he's not the characters aren't super balanced. It's pretty much just Baby and Mac that are doable to finish the game with. You obviously you can beat it with all of them, but they're the best options. But yeah, so you're really only using like this kind of thing as like a stop sign, right? Like I can dash downward or upward and kind of do a neutral flamethrower, or I can jump into a crowd with it. But for the most part, I'm not doing that for damage. I'm always just shimmying them along and getting them stacked on top of one another for efficiency, and just moving my way down. Boop, 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 boop. So it's just crazy because like fundamentally those are really small changes if you think about it. Like, oh, you can't finish your grab with an ender, but it's one button attack, one button jump. But it just even if you took this same system and put it into Final Fight with like those style of enemies, it would just completely reshape how you played it out.
Yeah, even just watching you play for the past minute or so, there were in situations where there's a giant crowd on your left, 2 enemies on the right, you manage to hit the 2 enemies on your right, and in my head I'm like, oh yeah, and now you hold down and you combo them into the back throw every enemy together, and then you've just won the fight, but you can't do that. So yeah, it's a completely different crowd control tools and completely different win condition that you're trying to hit with those crowd. I mean, you know, not the win condition as in all the enemies are dead, but the win condition is in, you know, a condition where you basically just won and now it's the cleanup phase. It's like very different compared to Final Fight. Like you're trying to do different things and trying to go about it a different way.
The throws like hit everybody while the body is cascading, which is what makes them like so strong, is you get such good crowd control off of them that you can, if anybody thins out of the herd, you can like immediately grab them and just get everybody back in a nice pile. You'll notice that there's not like you don't deal a ton of damage in this game. You don't deal a ton of damage, so you're expected to like keep the whole group alive and like whittle them down. But also enemy health bars aren't terrible. These cavemen guys are not too crazy, but the Marbins that we will be dealing with shortly, these guys are rough. But I want to show off Marbin real quick, who is the closest thing to like a US Navy SEAL that Capcom has ever put into a game. This little guy like schmoves on you.
Oh, I love this guy.
Marbin?
Yeah.
Look at him. Look at how he's moving around.
Yeah.
Let's get the
when he's just like drifting back and down but playing that run animation. That's wonderful.
So they have a fire attack, right? Which is their like slow area of denial option as well. Like just built into their kit. But they'll also, I want to get you killed. And so you can use them to kill their own.
Friendly fire?
Yeah.
Okay.
But look at how they'll move out and around. They'll pick an option. They'll do the little like Gucci slide. And if you turn around, I snagged him. But they have just a quick little chest bump that you have to be really aware of the whole time.
That was nice.
And Marbin, like in the thick of it, once you haven't like learned how to play around him, is, I mean, probably the best analog would be Elgato in Final Fight that I can think of, where even though there are knife guys in this game, the person that's moving like really fast and denying space like that is Marbin. Like, look how comes schmoving.
Oh, he looks perfect. Yeah.
And then they'll.
That was okay. That was good.
His I guess what would you call it? The width of his like headbutt attack on like the X and Y coordinates is quite a bit wider than the average like enemy attack. So it'll actually catch you from like the diagonals more often than a lot of these attacks will. On you. Really what you need to do to get a Marbin killed is you need to either be able to land the first hit of your strike on top of them, because if you whiff in front of them they can fuck you up, or you want to outmaneuver them, right? You either dash attack them and get them knocked down, you'll want to throw enemies into them, or once you can, stick to them as soon as you get the infinite going on them, make sure that they die. Marbin. It's pretty hard to like throw a Marbin too. You have to already have like block stun on top of them, otherwise they will do like their belly flop attack. Yeah, learning how to deal with Marbin is pretty tricky, but if you've got good crowd control and you are sure to notice whenever they're doing any kind of fast movement, that's like their tell, right? Is like if you see them start moving around, something's coming. This is the first boss, or this is the first fucker of a boss. It's Shtrom Jr, I should specify. Yoink. So they have like the enemy safe zone on the edge of the screen where you can't actually hit them, but only some of them will take advantage of that to actually hit you back, which is kind of crazy.
Okay.
But this boss here is like that
dive kick drop kick looks fucked, by the way. I'm not expecting it to hit at the angles that it does.
It's unbelievable.
Like jumping this upwards in the like y-axis, z-axis, whatever you want to call it, and then hovering in place and then drop kicking sideways. Wild. Yeah, like that.
This boss is for sure like on par with Sodom in just like pure stage 2 bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, this is the stage 2 boss? Okay.
Yeah, we're only in stage 2 right now. We're putzing along. Look at that bullshit. So this is the boss that I think teaches you to use your dash more than probably the rest of the game thus far, because you have to get like opposite corner to where he is, and you have to recognize if he's going to do the like jump and rack, if he's going to do the dive kick, or if he's going to do this little stutter step like that. And you have to recognize it, and you have to decide if you're going to be like dashing at him or dashing away from him. So like, I know he's going to do that. I have to move. Look at this bullshit. Insane.
Whoa.
But you can't infinite him, which sucks. So if he's going to do the fast rack option, where he goes up and You can jab him out of the initial jump frames. So if you are like kitty corner to where he is after he does like the whole wave like that, you can get a full jab string on him. They send in the Marbin hit squad again.
Yep.
And you can jab the harpoons out. He's got a lot of Belger DNA actually.
Yeah, I can see that.
This game or this boss, you'll really want to be dashing everywhere. You'll notice there that after he did the fast wave, I was able to land some punches on top of him. He is vulnerable at the top and bottom. Let's see if we can get him to do it. So I went to the other side of the screen, waited for him to get up, and then I was already mashing attack to get him caught in the jump right there. So he was in the recovery of that move. I tried to attack him, it didn't work. During his little step down, you want to see if you can maneuver up close to him. Oof, we're gonna pick up the chicken. You always want to space out your chicken in this fight. And you want to be pretty quick to use your Superjoy as well. But the idea is pretty much that you want to move in on him when he's not doing the jump attack, or you want to be positioned in a way that if he does this like sequence of the fast sequence of harpoons, that you're going to catch him when he lands. Pop, 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 pop. If you kill any of these Marbins during the fight, you actually get some health back. Well, they'll drop a health item, I should say. And then in classic Capcom boss style, when he gets close to death, you can just start Superjoying him. Is there a proper jab infinite in Cadillacs and Dinosaurs?
No.
Okay.
Fantastic question. By which I mean, it's like Marvel 2 style and Dizzy. It's not like Marvel 2 style and Dizzy, but you've got Captain Commando, who is frankly is a Marvel 2 assist. That also happens
Captain
in the game, on the screen. Exactly. Yeah, you can do the jab infinite on people, but against, I don't know if it's most enemies or all enemies, but after, say, I think it's 8 hits. I want to say 8 hits. I was checking recently with Boghog, and he's like, yeah, it's 8 hits. So I'm going to take his word for it. So to throw him under the bus if it's wrong. After 8 hits, they will just get knocked down. Which just makes it not particularly worth it damage-wise. You know, you'd be getting more damage out of... like, maybe you could do, 7 hits of a jab infinite into a throw under or whatever, but, why bother at that point?
Yeah. So what is the most efficient damage option then? If you know there's no additional enemies that can interrupt you or anything like that, what is the quickest way to kill an enemy?
It is just auto combo, hit, regular auto combo finisher. Because this, at least everything else I'll say is from the point of view of the grappler character mess, because that's who I played. Because there is an elevator section. It's unfortunately very easy. Kind of sucks to put a cool elevator section in the game with amazing music and just to make it really easy. But yeah, if you're trying to hit the enemies as quick as you can before more enemies spawn, you just don't even bother with a grab ender. Just punch ender. But that said, you can do the grab ender forwards or backwards in Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, which is extremely strong.
You brought up, and I've been thinking about this a lot too since you messaged me about it. You brought up empty execution barriers, and I was thinking about how easy the infinite is to do in Captain Commando versus the kind of trickiness of pulling off the infinite in Final Fight, because you don't need to do the backwards punch in Captain Commando to continue the infinite. You just need to turn around and then turn back. So you don't need to do punch. Yeah. And it lowers the execution barrier enough that I did not need to practice it at all. It was just immediately a part of my game plan.
Yeah, I think it's a better way to balance it, because if you're adding that type of thing, like the problem with execution, I think, with balancing in a lot of these games, that basically what developers will often do is they're like, oh, well, this is clearly broken and busted, but the execution's tricky, so we're not gonna remove it. So games end up in this weird like middle area where they have OP strats, but the enemies aren't designed around them. But so the developers basically add OP stuff locked behind execution. It's like almost like an unlockable.
Mm-hmm.
Just put enough time practicing, and then you'll get this OP move that enemies aren't equipped to deal with. Whereas if you make the execution light, you have no excuse other than to actually balance enemies around that.
And so, yeah, I guess like it made it hard to go back to Final Fight in a couple ways, where like I think the actual, and this is a very broad term, the texture of the game of Final Fight overall feels better than Captain Commando, but there are some ingredients that I think Captain Commando had like properly balanced. And one of it is the infinite, in the way that you shimmy enemies around, because the way that you end up dashing, the low barrier of entry to the infinite, the fact that all 4 characters can do the infinite very straightforwardly, and they all have a uniform 4-hit string, so you can do 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, or you can do like first hit, second hit, turn around, first hit, second hit, or you can do the 3-hit infinite, so everyone has the Cody and the Guy infinite. And then like you shuffle them around, and it feels really, really nice, and then you end up going back to Final Fight, and then like you said, it's stationary, like you plant in place when you're
like a tank, dude.
Mm-hmm.
You're like a fucking tank.
And like when you're in the backdrop loop with Hagar, you literally will sit in one place for like upwards of 8 to 10 seconds sorting dudes out.
It's also really funny because like if you look at that, if someone watches that, they're like, oh, you're just like standing there, but you're like, your eyes are peeled, you're looking at the Hollywood, what the fuck he's doing at all times, and your fingers on the trigger with Superjoys. It's still really fun, but yeah, basically you just stand there and do the suplex loop.
Another thing that I had brought up was the fact that you dash through enemies. You don't grab them when you're dashing, and it's not like they're intangible or you're intangible. You can both still get hit, but your hitboxes will just pass through one another. And in Captain Commando, you can't dash in Final Fight, obviously, and so in order to dash and grab, you have to dash, very briefly let off the stick, and then start moving like normal movement. So I found that was a much higher execution barrier thing that they added to the game, and it did feel a little like maybe superficial, because more often than not, if you're dashing through an enemy, it's because you wanted to grab them.
What it reminds me of is more of the back jump with Hagar in Final Fight, where it's like the execution barrier is fun, and there's like a kind of a layer of fear to it, where you're like, if you're in a stressful situation, your hands are not gonna think to do that necessarily, unless you're like really used to it. So there's a really fun learning curve to it. That type of thing, where you're like, not only do you have to get comfortable with execution, but also because it's like very situational, you have to unlock that kind of, like, you have to notice what a good opportunity is and learn that type of stuff, like get that into your like more intuitive, not just muscle memory, but like intuitive, like heuristics.
So it's very deliberate when you choose to use the dash attack. It's really strong against a lot of the bosses until the like enemy waves start rolling in, but you like it's such a thoughtful, like, you are using the dash in so many different ways, for repositioning, to try to pull off a tricky grab, to use the dash attack to make the enemies kind of straighten themselves out into a line so you can turn around and pull off the infinite. It's like this butter that greases the pan of the entire dish, and to me, I guess rounding around to the theme of the Reinheitsgebot, is like, it was still well within those like pure rules. Like I don't think that's breaking any belt scroller conventions, not because mainly there weren't a ton of them that were established yet besides what Final Fight had done, but unlike with King of Dragons where they removed a bunch of stuff and they still made a beautiful, elegant beat 'em up, with Captain Commando they removed just enough and added just enough that it still feels really nice.
Well, the big like red flag for that stuff would be what if you try to like running away and then just running from one end of the screen to another and doing like a slide attack essentially, like turning around. So something like you start running away from a group of enemies, do like a little circle and attack them, then wait till they wake up, do that again, do it again. And you know, for example, what if you run around and wait until they group up a little bit and then start doing that?
I think on the like the default difficulty, it might be pretty strong, but there are two enemies that are designed to counter dashing at them. If you dash forward at a electric lady, she'll zap, and you can't. Your dash attack won't go through it. And they seem to be more likely to do it if you are dashing at them.
That's really good. Yeah, well, that makes sense because do you know how in Final Fight, right, where if you're looking away, then the enemies will just move in, are more likely to move in.
Yeah.
So they had that kind of behavior. So it would make sense that they would program that for the dash.
And then the other character that can do that is the knife guy. If you get too far away, he'll just wing one at you, and you would have to weave it. Anyways, so if you make too much space from him, you're gonna get tagged unless you've got. And the thing is, there's a counter to that counter, right? If I know that that's gonna happen, I would just dash away, realize that I had dashed too far away from the knife guy, and then account for that in my movement. But then all of a sudden, that becomes an interesting decision. Like it's not cheesy anymore.
Yeah, it's not automatic.
But I think, I don't know, to me, they did really, really, really well with how they tuned it. Much like Stage 3 in Final Fight, this is where I feel like the game will put together, like start making actual compositions of enemies. And the game is just all kill or no filler. It's a 25-minute run compared to Cadillacs, which you know, but like
sounds nice. Yeah,
it's wonderful. And so all of the fights or all of the stages are like one encounter, maybe two, and they're big like full screen encounters, and then the boss. And there's a lot of stages.
Okay.
And in return, the enemy damage is super high. The amount of health drops is super low, and it's like the whole stage is the boss fight. You're not getting free health on the way into the boss. And I just think it makes for really fun stuff. So like you can't
yeah, that sounds good.
You can't just like edge people on screen and like pluck them along. Every single time you cross the threshold, the whole fight starts. I can't stop more enemies from coming in, right? But what I'm also able to do, since this full screen is considered the fight place, is I can go all the way around these guys, and I can preempt and conga line like this, especially as it gets later. So what I like to do with this fight is I go and run all the way to the other side, and we're going to start just piling them on top of each other. And then once we get them off the screen, we can just keep them herded in like cattle. We got two guys coming in from one side. Let's grab them. We'll sort them out, throw them over to one. Bop, bop, and we're just going to keep the infinite going on top of them. And if one of them escapes, we're going to throw you back over the pile to reset the timer on it and just keep jabbing. This is what like dominating a fight looks like in this game. Yeah, I think the game kind of relies a tiny bit too much on the ability to just like get everybody off to the side of the screen and then just kind of keep them herded.
Yeah.
Although
that makes sense. I mean, like I kind of feel that way about Cody to an extent in Final Fight, even where like, you know, these games are balanced in a way that like even if they make it really, really easy to finish off a group once you get the first hit, there's still challenge in getting that first hit. But I tend to prefer the games where, you know, you can't just convert one hit into taking out the entire crowd quite as easily and quite as, you know, in quite as like situation independent ways as you can with like, you know, Final Fight Cody.
This is where we'll fight our first katana guy, Muramasa, I think is his name. Musashi, jeez. He can block your attacks too. But the big thing is, like, if you turn your back to them at all, they will like instantly get a slash off at you. And they're a bit closer to Andore, where they can like own the horizontal space and you can't just step up at them. You have to definitely come at them from an angle. And on top of that, they can sometimes block your attacks. So they're susceptible to getting thrown like anything else. If they get off screen though, you kind of want to leave out of the way, just like with Andore. We're going to move up, get the throw, jab them a couple times. And then the ninjas are pretty much just mooks that do this like jumping attack, at least the red ones are. The different color ninjas do other things. I love the Musashi. Is that his name? I think it's Musashi. I love the samurai guy.
I think so, yeah.
Because he can block, which is fun.
Oh, nice.
And he has super long range. Like, if he gets the sword swing off, you can't dodge it. Like, once it's out, it's either you have to outspace it and already be dashing away, or you're getting hit by that thing. But after he takes a certain amount of health, you break his sword. So look at that. Look at that. He got me. He is one of the enemies that has iframes on wake up, so you're gonna, if you stand on top of him, he'll swing on you. But he's really interesting. They use him in such a cool way in stage 6. And so yeah, now that his sword's broken, he goes into dash mode. And you just look at him just coming at you. So
that rules.
Hey, he's a really cool character. I like him a lot. There are a couple portions in Captain Commando that you can straight up run past everybody. So as soon as I solve this fight, I don't have to do the next fight. So ninja guys are cool. They're all color coded and they have different behaviors based on their color. Blue guys are projectile guys. Green guys have really nasty sword attacks. And the red guys are just fodder. But they have kind of funky throw hitboxes, so you generally want to be striking them. But you can always like run away from the ninja fights, so you don't really even have to do them. Yeah, and you can just run past. I'm not going to say don't do the fight, but I don't know, if you're trying to be efficient, it's not bad. The boss and the Musashi spawn at the same time. Right about the same time. The Musashi starts moving first. Obviously you can't move in directly in front of Musashi, and this boss you have to be attacking from like the top or the bottom. It'll always win the horizontal fight with you. It can jump at you. You'll see, you probably won't, well, I can show off some of its attacks. But initially what you can do is use the Musashi as, if you've mastered movement of how to like get around him and then go in for a throw, you can use Musashi for a bit to kind of soften up Yamato. So I can get on top, throw, bam, it got him. And you can like stack them on top of each other. That's an example of how Yamato can get attacked from the top. We're gonna grab Musashi, throw him at him. All right, he's already down. So now we need to get above him and jab. All right. And then he'll walk down into us. And remember, we're not holding forward or back. We are holding just neutral, and it'll make sure that you get enough damage in on these guys. After a certain amount of damage dealt, he'll jump away with invincibility and spawn some more ninjas. That's an example of me just being in like a bad spot. And I can show you, if you turn your back to him, it's just instant hit. So you want to always be positioning yourself to come in from an angle. He keeps spawning more ninjas. Make sure that I was always vertical of him or throwing an enemy at him. Bop, 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 bop. Move up. And remember, I'm always, or at least note that I'm like always running in between these locations, right? Bad spot. Samurai's gonna move in from behind. I'm gonna grab him. If you run into an enemy, you won't grab them. But if you stop for a second, like stop running, and then walk into them, you will pull off the throw. Or you will pull off the throw. That's a skill you gotta learn. Now we're just gonna get above him. You can be attacking him already when he's spawning in though. So if you've got good movement, you can chase him down. We're gonna throw some ninjas at him. We're above him. We can jab, throw some ninjas. Oh, we're gonna attack. Pop, 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 pop. And I've got enough health now that I can just whack him down with my Superjoy and attack him with like a dash attack or something from a safe distance.
Yep.
Also, awesome boss fight. Isn't this? I love that one. It's so cool.
Yes, that's great.
Do you think Cadillacs and Dinosaurs like took how powerful the dash system is into account when they designed the enemies and the encounters?
Sometime. So, have you seen my two videos of clearing Cadillacs and Dinosaurs? Two videos of the same clear. One video of the full clear, and one video of the clear with all of the like embarrassingly easy filler parts taken out of the game.
Yeah, which I thought was hilarious because the fillerless video is as long as a Captain Commando run.
Right, the fillerless video is, I believe, 19 minutes, and then the full run is like 42, 43 minutes, so it's over half of the game is very easy, so that is probably a good shorthand to say no, they don't always take your dash into account. Some of the enemies do a pretty bad job of chasing you down, like the like popcorn enemies. Most of them are just helpless. There's one type of popcorn enemy that jumps around pretty fast. I think of them as like the flea men in Castlevania or something. I've forgotten what they're called. I think one's called Punk and one's called Thug. Like, you know, they have two names, like a Capcom enemy. Those guys hop around very fast and chase you down. Those are fine. There's an enemy with a big, like, spiky ball on a rope thing that swings it at you. That's fine, because they can attack across the entire screen. So they don't have a problem. There's a big guy with a gun who's like a Fist of the North Star ass looking guy who's the stage 1 boss. They bring him back as a elite enemy pretty often. He's fine, he can chase you down, because he again jumps around the screen and also but that's and the equivalent of the Andre or the Bill Bull, like the guys who run at you and chase you down, the big guys, they're not that strong in this game. Like, pretty much anyone can just stand jab them, you know, like what Cody does against them in Final Fight. But so they have problems, but the size of the arena is generally not a problem for them, or the move speed of the player. So it's like half of the enemy. Oh, and then there's an enemy that looks like Street Fighter Blanca, who also hops around and has a big tongue that reaches across the screen. So I guess that's the gist of it. Like, half the enemies they either just hop around the screen constantly, or they have big, long, full screen horizontal attacks, or both. Those guys are okay with your movement speed. Everyone else is not so good about contesting your movement speed. There are a couple of very specific encounters, like near the start of Stage 7. You run across the bridge and then you get to the end of the bridge, and before you can go through a doorway into the indoor section, which leads to the elevator and so on, there's a very, very, very horizontally thin arena that you have to fight a bunch of enemies in. Like, they just cram you into like a third of the screen vertically, third of the screen horizontally. And that section's fine, because it's the dash is a problem, but it's the dash with the size of the arenas, because they are very big arenas. A lot of the time is the real, like, that makes the problem a lot worse. So when they squish you into a thin arena, the dash is not quite that much of a problem. But yeah, that's about it. Although I should say there is an execution barrier to learning all this. This is, you know, assuming you've got very fast at like recognizing when it is safe for you to dash away and then inputting the double tap quickly and then running off. But yeah, once you have the dash execution down, it's like half of the game can be run away from. The other half of the game cannot be run away from, either because they're using strong enemies or because they've crammed you into a very thin area, which very rarely happens.
Oh, that's what I wanted to ask. So if you dash into an enemy and you make like you would pass through their throw, like your hitbox would pass through their like throw range, do you grab them when you dash through them?
You don't grab them, which leads to the one other thing about the dash that I have not explained. Thank you. Well, I briefly touched on it, where if you jab and you let go of a direction, you keep on moving. And the way to stop is you tap the opposite direction, I think. If I remember correctly, if you're dashing downwards and then you tap left or right, you keep dashing, but if you're dashing horizontally and you tap up or down, you stop dashing, I think is how it works. So, like, tapping a direction 90 degrees away from where you're moving is inconsistent. You know, if you're dashing horizontally, you want to move down, you have to hold the direction and curve down or up or whatever. But the point is, if you're dashing up to someone and you want to jab them or throw them, which is pretty common, especially if you're playing a character who doesn't have a ridiculously strong like dashing dropkick or whatever. Staring at Mustafa, the easiest character in the game, because his dashing dropkick is so strong. So if you're not playing someone like him, and you're dashing into someone and you want to grab them, you have to very, very quickly stop then attack. There's not a recovery on the jab, but there's a de facto recovery. You know, it sounds like you play fighting games. I'm talking about levelers and stuff. Me too. So, you know, the function that motion inputs serve in fighting games of like adding a little bit of a buffer startup period, which can be pretty short if you practice it a lot, but you know, it's not a little bit of a startup. It's the same thing in Cadillacs. Like if I'm dashing horizontally into someone and I want to attack them, if I'm not confident in my execution, I'll do like a back forward attack, so like a numpad notion, like, you know, 4-6-A or whatever to jab them. And you know, same if I'm a bit more confident in my execution, I'll just dash up to someone, let go of the stick, and then quick quarter circle forward into jab.
Okay.
So there's like a little bit of not technically not recovery on paper, but recovery as a side effect of how the inputs work, built into doing a dash or doing a jab or a throw out of a dash, which are often the two strongest things if you're playing as Mess.
Okay. First off, that very clippable. I'm gonna tell you every time I clip farm you. But
I know you're recording. It's okay.
I know, but I feel obligated to let you know that it turned out really nice. Stage 4 is really all about the boss. The actual combat isn't too bad. It starts you off with kind of this wacky like theming. The one weird thing about Captain Commando is the theming. You either like it or you don't. But you're at a carnival and then you go fight a monster in a lab. You're either fighting like these classic guys. What are their names? Dick. Oh yeah, this is Dick. You just fight a couple rocket dudes. You can take the rocket down with you. This is really like where the fight starts. So knowing how to handle this is really important. After you cross the threshold, like right in front of where my foot is, there's going to be a mech coming from your left and your right. So what you need to do is get out of both, and they're going to be dashing in, and they'll have a hitbox while they're dashing in. So you need to get out of the way and have them angle at you in such a way that they stop right about on top of each other. So we're going to move across the start of this star, and then we're going to dash forward. They're on top of each other. We can hit them both at the same time. And then what we do is we just don't let the whole pile get behind us. And the enemies are just not able to get around the top round part of the ring, and you don't have to fight them straight up. So it's a pretty cool fight to just like min-max. One other thing that I think, and this is on like the meta level of the game design, the game length of Captain Commando and the stage design and the stage length is snug, super snug.
Yeah, it's really good. It's very rare to have like a beat 'em up that well paced.
I saw that you had posted something about like filler in beat 'em ups, and then Cass had also posted the Cadillacs and Dinosaurs no filler run.
Yeah, that was funny.
Which is
no filler run, where it's like less than half the length.
It's the length of a Captain Commando run, which is too funny to me.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So there's fewer. In the way that they made it work is Captain Commando has super short stages and really intense bosses, so you maybe get 2 enemy encounters, two fights per stage that you actually engage in before the boss, maybe 3. It's kind of fluid, but you can't, it adds and it takes away some things. So like they don't give you as much health to pace yourself out. You're getting max 1 health drop in the game in a stage unless you catch,
and they do a shit ton of damage. It's not like chip damage. They do a ton of damage. Every hit is very I feel like that's another we were talking about, like the run. That's another thing these games use to balance it out, where it's like in Final Fight you get a shit ton, your Superjoys cost nothing, you get a shit ton of health, you get a shit ton of health pickups. With these like faster games, you get more overpowered movement, but every time you get hit, you feel it. You really feel it.
It's like an 1/8 of your run just disappeared.
Yeah, it's like a little bit of a shmup type of balance, where shmup you have crazy movement, but each hit counts. It's not like chip damage.
You need to get through the stage in good condition. There's almost zero chance on most of the stages that you're getting health specifically for the boss fight, like Final Fight will do.
Yeah, one of the filler conditions, and why I think beat 'em ups struggle with this more than shmups, I was talking about that, where basically in beat 'em ups you get so many health resets oftentimes that a lot of easier enemies don't really contribute anything. Because, if you get constant health refills, there's two states you can be in, alive or dead. There's no, nothing in between really matters. So it kind of, once you get consistent enough at these fights, there's no, you're not worried about getting hit a few times. Whereas in the shmup, if you lose a life, you lost a life. Mm-hmm. That's a life you're not going to be using at the TLB.
Yeah. And...
So the less health items you have, the more the consequences pile up, and the weaker enemies can actually pose a threat.
Actually, we'll move it forward. So this is the monster fight. It's shit. That was over 4. Whatever. He is really nasty. So first, you'll notice how cramped the arena is. There's not a ton of up and down space, right? And on top of that, if you step inside of his dead zone, it's instant smack, right? It's really hard to get a hit off on him without some really good dash positioning. What you need to do is dash and move diagonally at him, and then do a dash attack from upper. And then if you can, come straight up at him, it's also an option. So he's by the same rules as the previous bosses, where we're coming from either the top or the bottom, but the way his hitboxes own the field, you need to come in with an immediate attack that's already moving into him. You need to be on the attack if you're coming from the top or the bottom. And if you're feeling cramped, spin, reposition. This is going to be your first roadblock, is how accurate your dash attacks are. All right. So what I did there was stayed on top of my iframes. You get iframes while picking things up. So I was picking up the health restore items, and then as soon as I got all of the health restore items, I did a Superjoy. And then you can kind of get him in this loop of he knocks the barrels down, you smack him while he's on top, or while you're on top of him, and then you break some of the barrels, you get some food, you pick up the food, you get some iframes, you Superjoy, and then you just kind of loop it. Shit. Look at that. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, he's fucking me up. Oh! Oh! Fuck me, dude. I had to lock the fuck in to beat this boss. There are guns in Cadillacs and Dinosaurs.
There are, yeah.
Is it pretty meta relevant to use the pickup guns?
Yes, it is. Well, we've talked about how the half of Cadillacs and Dinosaurs is, by the time you're going for the 1 credit clear, half of the encounters in the game are very, very easy anyway. So those ones, who cares if you use a gun or not? And the other ones, it's pretty relevant. They have limited ammo, all of them. And you want to, if you shoot an enemy 5 or 6 times with the little Uzi, which has 48 shots, I think, they get knocked down. And that's relevant to a lot of enemies, ammo conservation and getting the most damage on a group that you can out of the shots that you have is very important. So counting bullets, making sure you hold the shot button exactly enough to get 5 hits and then letting go, because you're going to knock down the enemy after that, and then starting your next burst.
How's
right
the
as
damage
the enemy lands from their wake-up attack.
Or the damage on them, I should say.
Okay, the damage on a burst is it's maybe, this could be off, it's maybe half the damage of a full combo, so if you, maybe 2/3 of the damage of a full combo or something, so hey, if you manage to completely efficiently use all of the ammo from a gun on a boss at the start of a fight, that's 4 or 5 auto combos, full combos you won't have to do on the boss. Mm-hmm. So it's absolutely worth it. But in practice it's often. Oh, you can also drop items in Cadillacs and Dinosaurs by just whiffing a Superjoy. So
Great system.
Yeah. So if there's a gun that's, like 2 encounters before the boss or whatever, you might want to like carry the gun to the final boss, or like there's a gun in the screen before the final boss on in Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, which you probably want to carry to the equivalent of like, the big gang squad fight before the final boss that you get in some of these Capcom games. And you don't even want to use the gun at the start of that fight, because halfway through that fight there's a giant second enemy wave that spawns in, so you want to smuggle that gun into the fight. Don't use it during the first half of the fight if you can help it. Maybe you've got to use it because you're in a bad situation, and then the second that the other wave comes in, try and knock them down so you can spend all of your gun ammo on high priority targets and then bring them back in. So it's cool, there's stuff to do with it, but on the other hand, all it really is you just hold down a button to deal damage safely, and you just do that over and over again until you're out of ammo. So it's like the execution side of things it's pretty boring what you're doing with the gun. The thing that makes it exciting is deciding what to use the gun on. It's basically just a delete these enemies button to an extent.
I see. That's pretty interesting. Also, this is the only filler, and Captain Commando is the bonus.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with this section. Yeah.
But the guns in Captain Commando, they don't do a ton of damage. They have really limited ammo. They maybe shoot 4 or 5 times.
Okay.
And they're, to me, they're mostly just like, it's 5 on the assault rifle. They're the only reasonable one is the rocket launcher.
Okay.
Which is really good just for crowd control, because as far as I can tell, anytime enemies are knocked down with the explosion from the rocket launcher, they get up with the same timing.
Oh, nice.
So if you get 3 shots with the rocket launcher. So if you finish you like carry it with just 1 round, you fire it, you drop it because you're out of ammo. You get a free like run up full Oki situation. This fight's
nice.
crazy.
I should say there's also a shotgun in Cadillacs and Dinosaurs with 6 shots, but like each of those shots is big damage. So you want to save it for that. And there's a lot of situations where, because I did describe half the enemies in this game as jumping around a lot in Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, like all the ones that could chase you down and deal with you. A lot of it comes down to timing your shot and making sure the enemy is not jumping around and therefore, above you when the shotgun hits them. So there's like a timing element there. There's something to it.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, sorry.
No, perfect. But I'm just clip farming you. But
sure.
But so I think it's mostly the way that they make the enemies use it. The gun enemies in this game are super threatening. You have to you'll see me. I'm immediately prioritizing them when they come out of the little ground areas. So it doesn't seem like they were super threatening. But if they make any distance on you, they turn into an absolute nightmare. Alright, so for the actual, like, bonus stage part, or not the bonus stage, but the part after the just, like, pursuit section, what you need to do is you need to strike Lieutenant Boscovich over here, Dr. TW, I'm sorry, and you just need to strike him. So you just push him over to the edge of the screen and jab the shit out of him, and you get some bonus points for how fast you do it. So I'm gonna go sprint over to the side here. We've got a big lady. I try to grab her along the way and throw her. So now we own this side of the fight, and we can just kind of use our moving chains and occasionally do some throwing as needed. But what we need to watch out for is if we kill, I think, the big lady or enough of the small people, we're gonna get a mech spawn in with like a dash from the right. So we just got to keep that in mind. There it is. And we just want to already be attacking as it comes in. More dudes can jump into the mech, so be careful of that. And you just want to keep everybody pushed over to one side. Notice if you just stay on top of the big like pile, you'll end up jumping into the mech or grabbing a rocket launcher when you don't want it. So just be prepared for that. You really want to like stay on top of this whole fight. So we're gonna grab, we're gonna throw you. We got the pile going. We're gonna throw because a couple people were starting to break out. All right, we're gonna grab the blue guy, throw him into the pile, keep everybody thrown over to the left. And I accidentally picked up a weapon when I didn't want to. That's not so bad. You want to be careful when you're knocking enemies down that are going to be dropping weapons if you're planning on relying on your strike string. All right, that's everybody. We're going to move over. We're going to get the mech now. And we're going to get another wave of dudes. We want to focus on blue guy. So just keep your eye on the background. And really, your throws are so powerful in this game. You can really just stay in charge of a fight with a good throw game, which is nice. And once you get enemies to the screen, you can just play keep away. It's really nice. The inside section of Aquarium is it can be pretty nasty. We get a new enemy introduced, which is, I think it's Z. You'll get guys coming out from these top elevators, and you'll see that Z has a stretchy attack. So he covers just a horizontal section of the board, kind of like a rook in chess. But he's also got a pretty quick stab as well. He's pretty susceptible to the hit infinite, so don't worry about just moving on him diagonally and smack him up. Fortunate for me. They're super susceptible to the infinite, more so than probably any enemies, because they're so wide when they squat down like that. Look, did you see how far that hit him out from out?
I did, yeah.
They're super, super wide, and as such, they're pretty easy to just get on top of. And just mess them up like that. Whoop. The just basic pink guys are really, really nasty. Let me put a save state here. I'll show you. They're really nasty in their diagonal coverage. I didn't get to show. Oh, he had one hit left. They do this little jump kick. Of course he's not doing it. I wonder if it's because there's another enemy here. But that jump kick right there has just unbelievable priority. And when it's at high rank, they'll do it when you come up for a grab. He's not doing it right now, so maybe we're a little low on the rank side.
One of the popcorn enemies in Cadillacs does that exact thing. Exact same looking little jump kick, exact same situations. Happens at high rank a lot.
The Marbin here is actually going to do the most damage, so if you can get him under control, you're going to be sitting pretty. You'll notice that happens sometimes with Marbins, where they'll be able to dash underneath your throw hitbox, but through your invincibility frames in such a way that they will hit you, even though you feel like you should have been, covered by the throw that you put in front of you. But there's a little bit of a dead zone right underneath that Marbin can slip through. I don't know, that just doesn't feel super worthwhile. I could have gone for a dash and gotten a much better position there.
Right. Yeah. It's I guess with something like Final Fight with Hagar, it's jumping is what gives you access to your big long range move that you need sometimes against certain enemy types, whereas in games like this, you've got the dash kick, which is that's the role that the jumping attack usually takes in these games. So there's going to be some, crossover there, whatever happens. Some overlap, rather. God, those missiles look so satisfying to use.
And if you get a kill with them, the enemy just burns to a crisp.
Perfect.
I know the double Slizor fight in Cadillacs is where it gets crazy. It's the same in this game. This double fight is unbelievable.
I see.
But if you notice, I was talking about the shape of the arena situation. This has a bit of a curve on the top, and you can exploit it.
Yeah. Right, because they can't get to your left from there, I imagine, because of the curve.
And they do not play nice. This is one of Capcom's meanest double bosses they ever put together. But you can kind of stay on top of them and you can cheese them a little bit. So what I like to do is get up to the rounded edge of this arena, and if they jump kick, I jump kick, and if they come at me, I strike. And I'm just gonna chill over in this side and just hold jab. This is, if you get the positioning right, it's fairly consistent. It's mainly getting the timing and knowing how to recover. But you only have to kill one of them. There it is. There you go. So it's going to be tricky to get the feel for it, but you just got to be able to cram yourself up into that corner so that there's probably equal amounts of rounding on both sides. And then you're going to just mash jab. If they run in on you, you can jab out the actual like harpoons themselves. And then if they jump, you do a jump kick. It's just meets. You brought up stage shape, right? In like there are like some skinny corridors and stuff in
yes, yeah.
in Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. There aren't too many different shaped sections. At most, you get a marginally skinnier arena in Final Fight. But how do you feel like that kind of the stage layout has like an impact on the game?
I mean, I think it has a pretty big layout, impact on the game. I think it has an even bigger impact. I think the stronger your movement options are, the more that boxing players in really impacts things.
They put you in the monster fight. The shape of the arena is skinny and stubby. So it's like you trapped in really cramped corners with a single enemy, and he has the ability to attack diagonally. And as such, you are vying for the vertical space above him or below him. And I thought that was done really well. I hate that fight because it beat me a bunch, but it's really clever in how it takes the single boss fight encounter and makes it meaningful in a beat 'em up without being like so long.
Also a lot of iframes though. So
oh yeah,
still has to cheat. You know, always it's like it's hard to just give the bosses enough space to do their thing without that type of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and you know, the Punisher, I guess, is an example I go to because that has very extreme movement options. It's extremely powerful. You know, the second half of the final stage, right before you drop into the final boss room, there's that very, very thin corridor you've got to walk through, and that's like maybe the first time in the entire game that you can't just trivially roll up and down away from like 90% of threats. And you know, in Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, you have a very, very strong dash, but there's a couple of fights where you can only move left or right around like a third of the screen instead of the full screen, and not being able to run away from all of your problems really, really impacts things.
Are there any diagonal shaped sections? Because I think that's one thing that Captain added.
Let me think. Yes, but not with any meaningful fights in. You know, there's like a little bit where you fight a bunch of enemies and then you walk diagonally for 5 seconds, during which nothing happens, and then you go to the next fight. So diagonal transitions between fights, but I can't think of a diagonal corridor you're fighting in that means anything.
Because Boghog was bringing up that like there's an issue with diagonal arenas is enemy AI specifically.
Yes.
And it absolutely happens in Captain Commando, where they tried to add some different arena shapes, and the diagonal arena you can actually trivialize because the enemies can't get you can scroll the screen in such a way that you create a corner that they have to walk into your jabber
right.
race.
Doesn't surprise me.
But
yeah, because I should clarify when I'm talking about different arenas that work great in like Cadillacs and Dinosaurs and other games. I'm basically talking about different sized rectangles. You know, like it's really good when they, instead of being a big rectangle, they make it, you know, shorter or thinner.
So this is a pretty tricky section, but it's another section with ninjas that you can just run by. It drops a bunch of ninjas and a bunch of barrels at you, and if you fight this shit straight up, it's probably terrifying. You gotta, like, you're getting attacked from all sides, shit's going crazy, whatever. But really, that's just kind of like bullshit, because what you can be doing is, oh fuck, I fucked it up. The timing's a little tricky. Well, we're in the fight now. What you can be doing is just rushing through this section, because they all disappear once you're past them. So this is something that I end up talking about with Boghog and Cass, where they were talking about like arena design, and this is a section of the game that it was not designed around the arena that it uses. And here it is. Here's our legendary corner spot.
The special. You can't put a nook or a corner in a 2D beat 'em up.
And they even, look, they're not even dropping the weapons underneath you so that it can interrupt your string or anything like that, like knives.
Yeah.
Like with Elgato, they all go and tumble down there.
Oh.
So yeah, this whole section, as cool as it looks, it's just totally trivial.
I mean, yeah, these enemies are 2D sprites. They can only face left or right. They are not built to attack up or down. They're defenseless.
That's not even the end. You can also do it here.
Oh, okay. Yep.
I wish I could say they tried, but it's they tried.
Yeah, because they were so good about like you said, recognizing what was so strong about jab infinites and working around that in interesting ways, and recognizing a lot of the other like dynamics and powerful tactics in their games. But like the nook, they never really had a great answer to it.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of their games. So they kept making sections where there weren't answers to it. Like the Punisher, you can do what you just did there in like 6 different sections of the game. Mostly in stage 4, but a couple in the final stage too.
You just need to make sure that there's a little bit of vertical space above you and you're planted firmly against the right wall, and just leave just enough room for where an enemy could go there off screen, and yeah, you can just hold mash fire. The game is just such bullshit that I don't feel bad about doing this at all. There are no shifting enemy spawns. You can't just get 1 or 2. There's no poison hallway. There's no there's no stage 6 like walk up or anything like that. Anytime you are initiating a fight, it's a full group. And which I think is, I really like that. Like,
I really like that as well. Sometimes like sometimes like those spawns can make for interesting dynamics where you're like, for example, basically what they do is they at their best, if you don't want to walk forward, they kind of like lock you into this left side of the screen, and you have this smaller arena to fight in.
Mm-hmm.
But usually it just ends up being too boring, because you still need groups at that point, because one enemy can never challenge you properly. It just becomes like a waiting game, waiting for them to move to the left.
And so they just removed that completely from Capcom Commando, and then they also, in that vein, then they don't need to add time pressure, because that's not a viable strategy. And as such, they like that whole dynamic is gone, where like I've actually had stage like 5 runs in Final Fight come down to the wire of like how much time I spent on the poison hallway and shifting along and being super slow. And I realized I was like, oh, I'm gonna just die on time. And they just took that dynamic out and instead always made it so you cross a line and that fight is starting. And at that point, it's advantageous to get as much of the screen around you as possible, and you want to move forward, because sometimes they'll add in those enemy wave spawns or something like that so you can get some extra health.
Yeah, well, that's the nice thing. Well, the problem with that is like basically what the game's doing in Final Fight's case is just like punish, like basically encouraging you to go for the most tedious option. I don't think the game should ever do that, because there's no real reason to speedrun the game. It's not like the score is speed based anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, so the only reason you do that if you're basically fed up, which is a valid reason, because it is pretty boring to just trigger the poisons one by one. But it's still I like Captain Commando's take on, where it's just like, always groups.
Mm-hmm. I love the encounter design in Captain Commando is really good. It's not. I don't think there's any single fight that's as good, any single enemy fight that's as good as the pre-Belcher fight in Final Fight. Like, to me, that's the GOAT. That's the best you can make any single beat 'em up encounter, in my opinion. But
it's more consistently good.
Yeah, but you don't get an additional extend, right? You don't have as much health bar to work with, so they make the boss run-ups like, it's got good tuning. You know, I ended up getting a no miss clear that I uploaded in Captain Commando, and I think the difference between a no miss and, you know, using your one additional life and using your one life is actually like maybe one or two decisions over the course of the whole run.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's, I don't know, I really like the tuning on it. I love the run length. It doesn't have those grand moments, but there's this one fight leading into the double Shtrom, where it's two of the katana samurai guys and two of the lady Andores, which, by the way, they gave Andore, the lady Andore, I love they added the dynamic of having her have a short range projectile that has a ton of active frames, like her acid spit.
Yeah.
That's just, I don't know, that's such a fun take on, instead of making her a dash attack menace, it's her like ring of influence has
You got that
active.
fucking Final Fight poison kick, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's really cool. But they have this fight where it's two katana samurai guys and two of the big ladies, and the katana guys at that point, you know, if you know the rank has cranked itself up, or the difficulty, it's considered rank, right?
Yeah.
And so the rank is cranked up at that point, so they are blocking all of your strikes, so you are only really in a position to throw them or maybe get one, you know, they're like full block slashes at that point. But you have a ton of space to the right, so they come spawning in from the left, and then you've got this huge run up to the double Shtrom, and you can either use that arena space to keep running to the right and then re-engaging to the left, but every time you cross like a certain point, it drops down barrels. So like as you scroll the screen along, you bring up like these barrel traps, or you have the idea to like keep them condensed to one side, have a really close, compact, short range, risky fight, and then you have a chance to break the barrels on the way up to down that hallway after you've cleared out the enemies, and you can get more chances to get like food and stuff like that. And it's just this super cool designed encounter, and it feels like I wish they had a couple more things like that in Captain Commando, honestly.
Because that's like you're like getting pushed into, it's like a fighting game dynamic where you're battling for screen space very directly, from one side to the other, instead of dealing with both sides.
Where I think this is the best designed encounter in the game. It's two Musashis. Okay. Oh, and also you'll notice there's no timer in this game. But that's because
they hit you with like a hurry up or something?
No, the stages are just super short, and they don't. And instead, since you can't inchworm your way through encounters, and the whole encounter spawns when you spawn it at the beginning, they don't have like timer pressure. It's crazy.
So if you just hold like F10 or whatever it is, like the fast forward button on MAME, it doesn't like throw you off the cab or whatever. You could just do this for like an hour. Oh, what the fuck?
Isn't that crazy?
But it's an arcade game. You gotta have something.
I don't know what to tell you.
What the hell?
But
this is Capcom.
I know, they're brutal. So this is a really,
they know this.
This is a really cool encounter. You get double Musashi. Oh, I screwed it up already. You get double Musashi and double Madrina. I forgot what her name is.
Oh yeah.
So, and they're both coming from this side, and one of the Musashis is always trying to like get around you.
Yeah.
And so you have to like use this big long run up to like get any amount of crowd control going. Learning how to like beat this fight was very, very difficult. I feel like I've got it down to a science now. But like,
yeah. Nice. Took him out.
But it was so nasty. I used to lose a lot of runs here. And now I'll show off the same section, but using
a lot more of like the horizontal space. We can keep it close. We're gonna throw it back. We're just gonna spread it along. All right, we have enough space to move in and dash attack at the Musashi. And then anytime you have them off the screen, you want to be doing this. So it's like what I guess your solution is when you're not in like the advantageous position. Because once we've got them off the screen, we have full control. I also really like and they did this a little bit in King of Dragons. It's not as consistent, but in King of Dragons, they have the enemy formations, the static enemy formations that'll pop in from the side of the screen. It'll normally be like a bunch of archers or something like that, and they have a higher chance of dropping health items if you can kill them.
Yeah.
And Captain Commando does that, but they really crank up the chance for them to drop small health refills, maybe 15%, 20%, something like that. And the enemy formations that they bring in are vicious. They pop up on screen. You have to have them memorized already. And they, if you're not already in position and you're like trying to get to position, they will hit you on the way in.
Yeah, and that's really fun because, you know, especially when they pop up next to other enemies, because you have those two layers working together, you know, like the more heavy routing and RNG, where you have a really concrete goal. You're like, oh, I got to be here or else I won't get the enemies. And you have the RNG enemies kind of bending and complicating the route.
Mm-hmm. If you speed kill some of the enemies that come in, they'll drop food or various kind of drops, but the big thing that you're looking for is food. So you want to memorize where these guys are. This is a really critical one because this is the only way that you can get food back before the blood fight. So we're going to run up to the top right. We're just going to strike. Oh, we didn't get him in time. Well, we only got one sandwich. That wasn't great. But they come from those four corners in the same order every time. We really want to be focusing the rocket guys here. We can use the explosives. There we go. Easy breezy. There's no extends in this game, and there's only one additional life. So you're really on a pretty tight mistake margin. You'll notice if you kill these dudes that show up from the outside, it's like King of Dragons where they have a higher chance of dropping stuff. Yeah. But they have a high chance of dropping like health and stuff, like those dudes that show up with the bows in King of Dragons. If you kill them, they'll sometimes drop food and stuff. Yeah. This is pretty much Boghog's thesis on why one-on-one boss fights don't work.
It's so, like, you know, like, half of the mechanics in the beat 'em up are, like, you know, about crowd control and, like, getting iframes so you can throw someone into a group and all that sort of stuff, and, like, that means nothing in a 1v1 fight.
And then this is the fight against Blood, where he kind of does the same thing that we were doing with all the other bosses, where we're just trying to get above or below them and not be standing right on top of them when they wake up. They'll do some kind of attack or they'll maneuver. If they move, they're going to move into your attacks. So I'll try to show that off with Blood. But Blood has one unique exception, where he can do this like diving kick, where he'll do like a jump horizontal thing like that. You can't jab that out of the air. And you can't, let's see, I just got jabbed by it. You need to make sure that you're moved for that one. Or he'll do this kind of like crazy jump attack. So that you got to be careful of. Honestly, you can just press Superjoy most of the time with that. But yeah, just getting above him, jabbing him out. Easy breezy. Super simple fight. I wanted to talk about the bosses and the way that they felt, because one of the things that made me fall in love with Final Fight was there were two things in particular. One, it was the first fight in stage 3. I love that fight. It is
that fight is awesome.
My peak beat 'em up moment once I realized like how grand scale the fights in Final Fight could get. But it was also when I realized like how they make bosses kind of break
certain rules and you adjust to them breaking that one rule or two rules or whatever like that. Like, obviously Sodom is a piece of shit, and
he breaks many rules.
But
He just does whatever the fuck. I've never seen a boss that just decides how your run is going on his own. Even when you get a loop going, he could just break out. He doesn't give a shit.
Yep. And
Legendary.
Seriously. But it's something I've really started to appreciate about like a good beat 'em up boss is, one, I like when, you know, there's one or two kind of bullshitty things I have to account for. And then I like when they throw in a lot of added enemies, because the worst boss fight in Captain Commando is Blood, who he's the dude that looks like the juiced up like super soldier guy. He has no additional enemies in the fight.
Yeah.
And the only rule, air quotes, that he breaks is that he has iframe, like true iframes on his wake up.
Ton of life.
But it's so easy, especially with your super strong movement options. It's so easy to just walk up or down, have him walk into your fists, rinse and repeat. So he's the worst boss fight in the game. He's like the second to last one. The third to last, because you have to fight Doppel after that. But they have two double boss fights, like two boss fights in that game where you're fighting two people, which I guess I wanted to maybe kind of wax poetic on that and hear your thoughts on it as well. Like, how do you feel about the double bullshit boss fight in a beat 'em up?
That one is crazy, dude. That one, I don't know. I haven't. What I would need to really do to form a proper solid opinion is actually put like a few hours at least practicing them, because they feel like they could be really, really fun, but it's so hard. Like, it's so unmanageable, and the fact that the cheese exists basically it doesn't. It basically means that you don't have to engage with them properly anyway.
Mm-hmm.
One of those bosses where like the potential is there, you know. Well, not only do you fight two of them, you also fight normal mooks. That's the fucked up part.
I thought this is really clever. They bring in both of the double boss fights, during the double Shtrom fight, they bring in a wave of Marbins, the little short fat dudes that blow fire. Every single one of them, if you can take them out, will drop a health item. So even if you don't have the cheese, if you know that they're coming, you can sprint over to the left side of the stage and take a bunch of them out, and then you can get that mid-fight refresh.
Is it time-based or like health-based?
Health-based.
Is it? Oh, that's really good. Then you can. So wait, who's health?
I think it's a static.
Combined?
No. Because it's if one of them drops below a certain value. Because when I was labbing out the fight, first off, you only have. Oh my god, another great thing. You only have to kill one of them in the Shtrom fight. That's amazing design, because it's so bullshit. Yeah. You realize that one of them is the weak one. You start targeting them, and that's like decision making. But yeah, it's checking if either one of their health drops below a certain point.
It's like getting rid of the cleanup, you know, because once you kill, it's like in Cadillacs and dinosaurs, you fight slicers, the two slices, right? Once you kill one of them, the other one is pretty much free. It's just busy work at that point.
Yeah,
because they need each other to balance each other out, or other mooks, you know.
I think, but they like unlearned that lesson. Although the Doppel boss fight is so much bullshit up front. That it makes sense that they do it. The Doppel boss fight, what they do is they remove the infinite protection on the boss after you've killed one of them, which is cool.
That's crazy.
So as long as you kill one of them, you can just loop the other one and end the fight. But right in the same arena leading into the Doppel boss fight, they have multiple waves before you start the boss fight. They have multiple waves of the formations that come in that drop extra health. It's 2 Marbin waves and 1 electric lady wave.
It's an elevator, right? So you can like store them.
Yep. So you just like fill you get the whole ground littered with these health items. If you have obviously you have to pull it off. It's not easy. But the fight before, they give you a ton of rocket launchers, which are super conducive to blasting through these waves of enemies as they're coming in. So like it prepares you in a way, but it's not free ground turkey. You know, the previous fight, you need to do well enough that you can end it and then quickly pick up a rocket launcher. You start the next fight, you take out multiple waves, get yourself a nice setup of food, and then you fight this insanely bullshit boss fight. And it's like, they give you bullshit to work with, and you have bullshit to work with. And then if their win condition is killing one of them, because they know that's the hard part, and then they take away the infinite protection and let you end the fight. And it just feels like Capcom really knew what they were doing, despite being like, that's gonna just eat credits from anybody who doesn't have a plan.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they gave you a proper fighting chance. You know, I keep joking about this. You know, with for example, in Final Fight, right? If you beat the boss, if you die right as you beat the boss, it counts the boss win, and your guy doesn't die. You don't die. You don't lose the life.
Really?
So, yeah. There's a bit of that protection for double KOs where the boss is always prioritized. And they make the joke like, you know, oh, are they stupid? Why aren't they stealing credits? Do they not understand how arcade games are designed? That's basically the same thing here, where it's like if the goal is just to steal your credits or, you know, bullshit, you know, just to create bullshit, then they wouldn't add all this stuff, all these dynamics. Where it's like you're storing health items, you're quick killing dudes. That there's so much stuff that they give you, but you have to like figure it out. And you have to learn how to use it.
Yeah, the thing is, they end. It actually it has a hint of Belger, where the last boss, Scumocide, I think is his name.
What a name, dude!
Yeah, Scumocide. I think it's just Genocide in the Japanese one. But Scumocide has no iframes on his wake up, but your hits knock him down. If you knock him down on his wake up, like it made me think of what you were showing off with, like your little like Final Fight clone thing that you did with the Third Strike sprites, where you have the edge of the screen grayed out. If you know, I mean, you know what I'm talking about, but it's hard to explain.
Yeah. Well, basically, where you have like a bit of padding where you can go, but the enemies can.
So they have this same thing in the Scumocide fight. You can knock him out of the arena, but you cannot run past that edge.
Right. Yeah.
So you can loop him on his wake up until the point of knocking him out of the arena,
but
then you have to deal.
Yeah, by back pile driving, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's baby Commando. So other characters can't do that, right?
The other characters don't have it as easily, but they do have a grab loop. So what you need to do with baby Commando, it's auto timed. But with any of the other characters, what you need to do is you grab him at the start of the fight. You do 1 hit, 2 hit, 3 hit from the grab where it throws him and knocks him down, and then you need to run, let off the control, let off the dash, and then start walking on top of his corpse. So like the dash into throw execution barrier, you can do a full loop and never have the boss actually get up and fight you. But it's much harder with the other 3 characters. I did this with Baby, because Baby, as long as you get the pile driver off, it's free.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the first time they throw the wave of carols at you. I love those spawn-ins and the way that they use the enemies. It's so fun.
Yeah, same. I should quickly say, to do with Superjoys, Cadillacs and Dinosaurs is similar in that you take a pretty big chunk of damage from Superjoying, and the way I tend to treat Superjoys, with very few exceptions, is the strongest non-boss enemy in the game is when they bring the stage 1 boss back as a regular enemy, which they do in like quite a few encounters. And that's basically the only enemy you want to Superjoy against ever. Everyone else is like, hey, if you had time to Superjoy, you might have had time to dash away from the problem.
Yeah.
So, it's the opposite of Final Fight. You basically never want to Superjoy, and you're leaving every run going like, oh, I should have Superjoyed less, which is the exact opposite of what I think every time I mess up in Final Fight.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Stage 8 features a really nasty boss, and honestly, the hardest boss in the game, and some pretty nasty fights too. We're really going to want to just stay on top of keeping enemies off screen, stacked on top of one another, and and then once you can, you get them into the infinite.
This stage starts off with some rushes of Brendas coming in and doing their electric attack from the left and the right. So you either want to try to stand on top of those spots and already be attacking, or you want to get to the middle of the screen where they can't reach you. And then a couple of Brendas will break off of the formation. As long as we stay on top of the fight, nothing crazy. We got some more pink dudes coming in. We're gonna try to get this whole stacked on top of each other. I'm keeping all my threats to one side, and I'm using my moving chain to make sure that I'm keeping up with the herd. You can get like
I like that it's on the ground too, so you can like jump over them. It's a nice attack.
Yeah, it's man, it's just a cool game. I'm such a big fan of this one.
Yeah.
I wanted to get to even more important than like the last stage. I wanted to get to the Doppel boss fight, which is this game's Sly Source for sure. And I think honestly the most heinous boss that Commando, that
nice
Capcom has ever like put to paper, like pen or paper.
Okay. You gotta play Sly Souls, and I'll play that boss fight, and
we'll compare.
I can compare.
Another wave of electric ladies coming in, some Brendas from the left and the right. And if we attack them before they get on, we can break down 2 cherries. But we probably won't need that because we get a health pickup right after this. Honestly, this is the closest this game comes to like any kind of filler fights, because in the grand scheme of some of the trickier fights that you've already gotten over, and giving you the cherries here, and giving you the katsu, it's crazy. But again, another issue with this game that I showed before, you can just keep them off screen once you've got them off.
Right.
We'll do this guy. We'll make another save state because I can't be cocky.
Okay.
Just because I want to press along here. But you run back,
Yeah.
throw it towards the middle, 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 and then I've got a bunch of health to work with now during this fight. So we've got all sorts of lemons and stuff. I think it's just it's a cool system because it rewards like a little bit of knowledge and memorization. And they just keep throwing more guys in. I love how many dudes you get to fight at one time in this game. It's really good. The crowd control feels so spectacular.
Yeah, and it looks like there's like meaningful decisions to make about what to do after you get a hit. You know, there's no like one size fits all free answer. I mean, but despite that, it seems like all of your options are very strong and satisfying to use. It's really like threads that needle.
Jab throw. So we got some chocolate out of it, and we'll use that during the fight as we need it. This is a pretty fun technique when you get the opportunity to use it. You can get enemies on either side of you, and then just be doing your rapid attack to either direction, and you'll like mob the enemies because they'll still be in the hit stun from the last time that you did the turnaround attack. This next section, though, coming up is really nasty. So we're going to be going into the Doppel fight. The Doppel fight is very, very, very difficult. And you're going to want to kill as many of them as possible so that you have a ton of food to work with during the boss. One of the techniques that you can do is try to have a rocket loaded up with just one shot left. You shoot the shot and then dash on top of their corpses and just try to take them down with striking. So I'll try to get that set up. We'll do 2. Oh. We're going to save our last shot here. So this is one of those times where you preemptively have the last hit so that you can run up and do some crowd control.
Oh, nice. A lot of lemons in this game.
Lemons and... oh no, I shouldn't have picked that one up. That's really good health. But yeah, you have to like set yourself up with a bunch of health for this boss, otherwise you are absolutely screwed. So have you seen this boss before?
Yes, I have.
The Doppel boss fight, absolute like war crime. The iframes are super inconsistent. They can reversal out of your so there's like the weaken, so they can reversal out of your jab. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And then they split into two.
Okay.
And they both are playing by unfair rules.
I see. Yeah, this is one of those boss fights where I've seen someone else play it, but it's not the same as experiencing it, I imagine.
Look at that. Oh my god. They're so hard to get throws off on. Let me grab my cherry.
Ooh, almost.
And then, for whatever reason, after you've taken out the boss's friend, the dude left over is susceptible to the infinite. All of a sudden, instead of breaking out of it. So, although that didn't look like a heinous boss fight, that was easily like 10 hours of practice to make that turn out the way it did. It's weird. Once you pointed out that the Virtua Fighter triangle kind of applying to Captain Commando, I think you're right on quite a few of the moves, but I don't think it's full. Meaning, like, if an enemy is about to attack or they're in their attacking frames, you can't like throw them. I think it's not uniform across the entire board. I think there are certain attacks that are grabbable, and then there are certain attacks that don't have a grab hitbox, because I was sitting and I was testing it as much as I possibly could, and the knife guys in Captain Commando, if they do the startup of their knife swing, it actually makes their hitbox wider. So if you're walking at them like from close, if you're not outside their ring and you walk into the swing range, like obviously you'll get hit. But if you're already up nice and close and they initiate their swing, you'll always scoop them up. They get really wide and you suddenly pick them up. So it's like they have a dead zone, but they've also got a kill zone. And it's really satisfying.
That's really interesting. And that stuff had to be completely intentional. There's no way it wasn't.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can't.
My theory about like the VF grab stuff, right, where enemies become invincible to grabs when they initiate attack, is basically what they do is the way they program it. This is like a complete guess on my part, but it just seems like intuitive. What they start programming it with nothing being like nothing except neutral being grabbable, and they like manually add the grabbable states instead of the other way around where everything's grabbable, and they add exceptions. I think that's like that's why a lot of like the attacks don't have a grab hitbox essentially.
That makes sense.
So they might have. Yeah, so that's why maybe you'll have that like variety where some attacks are. So they would be like playtesting and be like, oh, this feels right, this doesn't feel right. You know, because some enemies sometimes you have like you want an enemy to always get an attack out, but if you're testing, right, some enemies might be a bit too grabbable, a bit too easy to walk up and grab. So they might like fudge it a little bit, you know, cheat.
And I wonder if that's how they kind of avoid then you being able to immediately pick up enemies on their wake up, because maybe they're programmed to do a wake up attack, and that wake up attack was specifically designed without throwable frames.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, I can see where that's coming from, because then there are some enemies that you can, if you're walking on top of them when they're getting up and you're at the low rank point of the game, you'll scoop them. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
interesting.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes, I think that's where it comes.
Final stage, you start off swarmed. We're gonna get some cavemen. It's really just a not a waiting room, because that's not the fights can be pretty tough. But it is just the last hurrah right before the final boss fight, because it's really just trying to like nickel and dime you down, because there's no heals on this stage at all. So everything, including the like final mini boss fight, is gonna take you whatever you have with it, you're gonna take into the final boss. There's a fake out on this where you're gonna get some knife guys that are gonna come out and like throw knives at you, and it looks like it's gonna be an elevator sequence, but it's not an elevator sequence, and that makes me very sad. We're just doing classic crowd control here though. getting everybody put into a big pile. This is just it's unbelievably powerful. And the knife guys aren't dangerous enough either. They even fake you out. You think you're going to get an elevator fight. Nope.
Oh, they have knife guys like this in Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. I didn't bother mentioning them because they're not dangerous. They're not particularly relevant. Oh, that's a fun weapon to have in a beat 'em up. Oh, I like that.
The little stun gun.
Yeah. Very sort of 50s retro sci-fi kind of look to it.
And it works on bosses too if you pull it off.
Oh, nice.
Ha. And then they give you a high rank refight of the first boss. We're gonna get a small, there's no penultimate fight like the hit squad in Final Fight. There's just a couple kind of high rank enemies that come in somewhat inconvenient formations, and then there's a fight with the first boss of the game, but he's at high rank alongside some other enemies, obviously. So since he can be thrown, you can't stand on top of him when he's getting up off the ground. He has invincibility and he'll smack you. But if you can, and he will keep trying to like block your attacks, you know, and he's quite good at it. But he can't block a throw. So if you can get an enemy thrown at him or him thrown, you can get some free damage in without having to try to compete with his shield.
Oh.
I'm not too concerned. I got an extra life. we'll do it as is. That's what sucks though is if you're playing against an enemy that has like blocking, you don't have a good efficient way to like deal damage to them. Because none of your you don't have that big damage spiky option.
Right. Because in like the other games, it's like, oh, you just dash attack them to make them block, and then you walk up and do a super high damage throw loop. But if you don't have the super high damage throw loop, what do you do? I forgot you can't. We'll do it to M. So this boss has a big exploit and is also impossible with any character who's not Baby Commando. Not impossible, but if you... Oh no. Shit. I can't help but notice you are not Baby Commando.
No, I was just playing through the game with Captain because it's fun. So playing this guy legit is crazy because if he breaks out of the initial like loop that you get him started on, he is just extremely hard to get.
Okay. If you like that dynamic, you should play Violent Storm. You're describing like 90% of the bosses in that game. Every stage ends with this, basically.
So he doesn't have any invincibility frames on Wake Up for throws, and probably not strikes as well, but it's hard to like actually pull that off. I'm not too sure. But he doesn't have any throw invincibility on his Wake Up frames. So what we're going to do is try to keep him in Wake Up frames from the start of the fight and constantly be throwing him, running on top of him, and keeping him thrown, and just like keeping a loop going. And we'll need a little bit of a timer, or like a mental timer, right? So he's going to spawn in the middle here. This is good old Scumocide. He is going to turn to the left, and then he's going to start making some explosions. I want to be positioned like right outside, right around where his arm is right now. And then as soon as I start seeing those explosions, I'm going to walk forward, and our throw hitbox will overlap with his hitbox. And then we can start getting the throw loop going. So we'll be out here. He's going to turn. Explosions. I walk. Stab, stab, stab. Dash. Walk on top of him. Stabs. Throw. Oh, fucked it up. Yeah. If you end up having to fight him straight up because he broke out of the infinite string, then you're going to have to play the most intense game of don't be on the same axis as the boss yet. When you spawn back in, you'll knock him over. You can throw him on wake up. So you always want to just keep an extra life in the tank for this. And that's it. That's all you do. You just want to get him into the throw. So this works with every character. The character that makes this easiest is Baby Commando, because you can, instead of having to do the dash, you do the jumping butt pile driver instead. But yeah, that's the Captain Commando clear.
It is interesting.
The timing on this is so strict.
Yeah, this is a violent storm as boss fight.
Come on. Holy crap. I think that's the first time I've ever pulled that off with a non-Baby Commando character. Because Baby Commando, because he has the Hagar butt like backdrop, or the jumping like pile driver, you do the back jump pile driver, and then you just hold walk forward. You don't need to dash, release, dash, and then start walking to get the grab, because just like in Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, you can't do the grab right out of a dash. You have to release to neutral, which is what makes that so hard. You have to catch his opening frames with a throw, so you have to dash up to him and then let go and then quickly throw him, whereas with Baby Commando it's just auto-timed. You don't have to do it at all. Captain Commando. Which is why I ended up using him.
Yeah, so that's really interesting. That the arena is, like the enemy can get knocked into the arena. Yeah, that's like it's so hard to solve that corner problem in general in beat 'em ups. Like the fact that basically what you have two problems. You have the usual, like when you knock enemies down off screen, it takes a while for them to get in. You can't like get grabs in. You often can't even hit them. But then there's the other problem. You have like enemies that are programmed to stay out of your range, right? Where you have to like chase them down. If you get them next to the corner of the screen, it's hard to deal with them, because you have to like walk backwards now.
Yeah.
And bait them back on screen, yeah.
Something I wanted your take on was the difference in sprite size between Final Fight and Captain Commando, and how you feel that might change the game dynamic.
I think that basically led to what I was talking about, where it's like more mobility heavy. But another thing is just that's probably why they added the run, right? Because you have more space to physically navigate, and so do the enemies. The enemies have more running attacks. They just run around more often in general in Captain Commando.
I've heard people say, and I don't want to say from like the less informed, but a slightly more like casual retro gaming audience, when they're talking about Captain Commando, is they said that the smaller sprites were a reactionary design choice to the fact that they wanted to do 4-player cabs. I don't know how I feel about that, because it seems like they would be totally fine cramming big sprites. It's not that they couldn't put a bunch of big character sprites on screen with 4 people and just kind of have it built around that, but I don't know. To me, it had to have been like a conscious choice, not reactionary.
I think, well, it depends. I mean, well, either way, right? Even if it was a kind of like a reaction to the 4, it's like what we talked about, where like the tech, it started as tech, but then became artistic. But that happens mid-development for these guys. So let's say they're like, okay, we're making like this 4-player game or whatever the fuck, right? And they would take that as like the basis and then balance everything around that anyway. Mm-hmm. So even if they didn't, even if the original decision came as a result of like this like shallow, like, oh, we just need 4 players, then they still had to build the game around that.
Okay.
And they did. The enemies move around, just like run around more. They have more like ranged. There's more like ranged enemies and shit. There's just generally more enemies, and it's not like you even have the full screen space to work with anyway. You're still stuck in that like bottom half or like bottom third.
Yeah, true. There's really only like 2 boss fights where you can reverse scroll the screen, and that's the Doppel fight and Blood, I think.
There's Bludge, who is Blanca from Street Fighter. I should say I know nothing about the Cadillacs and Dinosaurs comics. Sorry if this is like the famous character Bludge from the comic or something, but I don't know them. So it's Bludge,
the famous character
green
Bludge.
guy. right. He is green. He's Blanca. So
Question: how do you feel about auto fire and beat 'em ups?
Oh, I'm perfectly fine with it. I think it's just, it's completely fine. The same way I feel about it in shmups. Really, it's even less impactful because you don't get DPS, right? You just get more consistency, and you're saving yours. It's just not fucking with it, dude.
That's what I'm saying.
But and they're starting to add that shit in support. So
Yeah.
Capcom's been so I think all the Arcade Stadium has auto fire, I believe.
Beat 'em up collection as well. I love the beat 'em up collection. I now officially have 200 hours in it between 2.
Hell yeah, dude.
It's because I did 100 on the Switch and I just cracked 105 on
The problem with
Steam.
beat 'em up collection though is you only have one save state. So, not the best.
Which is crazy now that I think about it in hindsight, and like the way that I play shmups and everything like that, with how extensively I make my save states. It's crazy to me that me from the past did the entirety of Final Fight, like practice the whole game with just one save state.
It's crazy, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it was deep COVID, so I didn't have shit going on. But
yeah, that's true.
It's
one of those things, it's like drugs, dude. Once you taste heroin, you're like, weed? What the fuck are you talking about?
I've heard people say that they think beat 'em ups are less intuitive than shmups. Do you think that's true?
Oh, I think so because you have like just it's a lot closer to something like fighting games where you have to learn all these like the state, for example, invincibility frames on Wake Up. That's not something the games telegraph in any way. You just have to learn that shit.
You just feel it.
For like bosses. Yeah, there's a lot of like these obscure esoteric states you have to learn, and a lot of like, for example, beat 'em up AI is like magic for most people. Like even people who play the genre often don't. They like feel it, but they can't articulate it or really. I guess shmup patterns can be a little like that as well. But it's just a lot more visual, like
Wait, this shit hit different. No,
Yeah, exactly.
Final Fight, the first time that I cleared it, took me 90 hours, which...
Yeah, that... I mean, it's not even that crazy, right? Yeah, especially with Hagar. You cleared it with Hagar first, right?
Yeah, I've barely even touched Cody or Guy.
Yeah, well, if you get a Guy clear, that like fully supplants Cody, I think. that invalidates Cody as a character.
But yeah, I mean, and then it probably took me, by comparison, maybe 25 to do Captain Commando. It's a 30, and I think it's because it's a shorter game, but it's also because I was coming off the back of doing another Final Fight clear. That I ended up recording, and that's why I ended up
revved up.
I made the big guide about it, and in the process of like thinking about the game so much and like putting together so much information, I learned a ton about beat 'em ups, and just all I could think of, it's almost the only thing I've been able to think about recently is like how these games change so little and do and feel so different.
I hope that as beat 'em ups get more popular, I'm hoping they continue to become, more popular in the sense of more people understanding how to play them as a genre. As that keeps happening, I'm hoping it becomes a bit more like, shmups and fighting games, that sort of thing. I don't think people are out there saying, like, why would I play other shmups when I can just play Diojo or Ketsui, the best shmup, or whatever that person thinks the best shmup is. I'm sure there are people out there who think that way and just play cave games or whatever, but I think there's less of that than there was 20 years ago. Fighting game wise, I think people play a broad variety of fighting games. They're not just out there like, why would I play another fighting game when I could simply play Super Turbo or Plus R or Virtua Fighter, which, whatever game you've decided is the one best fighting game. So I'm hoping beat 'em ups get more like that among the people who play them, actually engage with them and try and one-credit clear them and so on.
And from the outsider's perspective, they're going to look at these two games and they're going to be like, oh, they're both shooting games. And then from the people within, they're like, you could not describe two more different realistic shooting games.
Yeah, exactly. It's just it's like the outsiders. Oh, these are all the same. Whereas if you're actually in them, you will despise one and love the other. Even though to an outsider, they look at that, they're like, this is literally the same game, dude. What are you talking about?
And even if you give them the controller for a while,
Yeah, they won't feel it. Yeah, they won't notice that difference.
Yeah, for sure. I hope that, to me, I'm hoping that this video that I end up concocting, because there's a lot of work I still got to do on it. I got to do like editing, and I'm pretty much just gonna comb through this conversation, the conversation with Boghog, and my actual like recorded guide, and start tying all of these themes together, and just try to find like smooth transitions where I can grab each of your comments on it and stuff like that. And then, find some entertaining portions too. Why not? Because you made the getting into beat 'em ups with the Punisher video, which I think is fantastic. I send it to people all the time if they ever ask about it.
I can't believe people watch that video. I didn't think they would. I was just like, well, it's pissing me off that there's not a video like this, so I'm going to make the bad one, and then someone will make the good one. Hopefully at some point, and then everyone will watch the good one.
Well, I mean, I was in the same boat with the Final Fight guide, where I was like, nobody's done this. What the hell? And it ends up being 2.5 hours of a rant, more or less, with some cohesion.
Yeah.
But it would be really cool if somebody who who could take that information and distill it into maybe a bit tighter of a package, and maybe add some star wipes or like something like that makes it look cool. So I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to do with the Captain Commando video, is have it be a bit more like created, like properly put together, so that it can maybe it won't onboard people into the genre. I don't think the Captain Commando one's going to onboard people into the genre. That's what Final Fight or like your video is for. But to maybe like build passion. The first time I played Final Fight was, I have a Super Nintendo my brother got from his.
Oh no, that same shit with me, dude. Same shit. Not on an actual console though. I didn't own it, but when I was getting into emulation a little bit later, I played the SNES version, dude. I hate. That's why now I'm like traumatized by any inferior version of Final Fight, because the SNES version fucked it up for me for so long. It's like straight up like 15 years or something, or like 10 years.
I think it's funny though, but when I was playing around it, because I got the actual cartridge for like $7, some stupid cheap, I was playing it. I had also gotten Batman Returns, which is an actually good beat 'em up on the SNES.
Oh, that one's awesome, yeah.
But I started like playing beat 'em ups. This is even before I got the beat 'em up collection. This is when I was back in college, when I felt myself do the Capcom grab for the first time, it still works in the SNES version. When I felt that happen, I was like, that had to have been an accident, and I did it again intentionally, and then I think that was like my eyes opening to game design.
Yeah, you're like, whoa, this is like a real, this has mechanics. What the fuck is going on?
I guess that's true.
Yeah, it's a lot more intuitive where the difficulty is, where the engagement is.
Okay, that's interesting. Maybe it's because I started with fighting games and beat 'em ups that I can't.
Yeah, I
can't see it from that perspective.
Dude, I have to point this out. I have to because sometimes if I talk to a fighting game player, they're like, "Oh, dude, I just don't get it, dude. Why is it so difficult for people to learn?" And I'm like, "All right, explain. Not tick throws, but like basically the invincibility after if you're in block stun. Explain that to me in any rational way. That doesn't make any sense. In real life, it's the exact opposite, right? In any kind of fighting, it's the exact opposit. You hit, and then you go, the hit sets up some kind of grab, right?
I imagine you get punched in the face, someone reaches their arm around you, they just go through you.
Yeah, they go through you, exactly. So it's like one of those things that you just have to know about fighting games. Once you know, it's like second nature, but there's so many of these little things that that you just have to learn.
Interesting.
And you know that's good actually. It's really good in a way because I'm often jealous about like fighting game developers because they can get away with all these abstract mechanics, and the players are like, oh yeah, just how it works. It's just how the game works. Whereas if you do that in like even a beat 'em up, people are like, what the fuck is this? Why can't I grab this dude during this section? During this
it doesn't say this in the command list.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's true. I think of, and maybe it's because I got my ass kicked in real life a lot, but I think
Damn.
yeah, I think beat 'em ups they felt, I guess, yeah, once I got through that initial learning curve, it was always logical to me. It was like, why would I want to let myself get surrounded? Why wouldn't I use every tool to keep
that stuff I
at
think
bay?
is really intuitive. Well, the problem though is like there's nothing like beat 'em ups aside from beat 'em ups. There's nothing like them.
One thought that I don't know if this game is the most relevant place to talk about it, might be, is seems to be a tendency among people who are newer to the genre or like haven't played beat 'em ups and are looking in at the genre to kind of view every beat 'em up as like, well, there must be one perfect beat 'em up, and every beat 'em up that's out there is just an attempt to make the perfect beat 'em up. So all I need to do is look at all those games, ask, which beat 'em up is the best one. In my case, Final Fight's my favorite beat 'em up, so let's say Final Fight's the best one. And then just play Final Fight. You don't gotta play any other games because you played the best one. But like, hopefully, just the vast amount of differences between Final Fight and Captain Commando, and Cadillacs and Dinosaurs in this case, should show that they are very different games. This is an actual genre full of games. This isn't just 20 attempts to make one good game, So, hopefully people think of, Captain Commando and these other beat 'em ups as games that are worth playing in and of themselves, and they're fun. They're not just, oh crap, I've already played Final Fight. Might as well play the Final Fight again, but not as good. It's its own game. They're great. They're fun. They're interesting. They're worth playing.
Get clip farmed. I live in probably the most textbook Midwest locale you can imagine.
I see. Yeah, the only Midwest I've been to is I've been to a lot of Chicago fighting game tournaments, like a lot of Combo Breakers, a lot of Frosty Faustings, and that's about it.
What were your choice fighting games that you were playing?
The main game I competed in was Skullgirls. I won EVO 2021. Like, I played in a lot of tournaments for that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Saxophone.
Yeah, I'd like to get into another fighting game at some point. I feel like I'm old enough to be a Super Turbo player. I gotta become a Super Turbo player.
I think you can start on
pick
Third
old Ken,
Strike.
throw some fireballs.
You can start on Third Strike and then go from there.
Hey, you don't have to include what I'm about to say in the recording. Fuck you. Fuck Third Strike. Fuck parries. I hate that fucking game. Anyway.
Wild.
Sorry, I really don't like Third Strike.
Oh,
I'm not a parries and fighting games like I'm a zoner.
Okay.
In public,
the
it's
thing
fine.
is, I said I'm clip farming, so.
True. No, go for it. Do what you want. I don't mind.